Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 91, An Easy Win. Blue, full name Blue Oak, is the grandson of the renowned and authoritative Professor Samuel Oak. Professor Oak takes great pride in Blue, and for good reason. Blue is exceptionally talented, especially in Pokemon training and breeding, to the point where even Professor Oak is amazed. Professor Oak is thoroughly convinced that his extraordinarily gifted grandson will surpass even his own peak strength in his younger days. Blue simply has that kind of potential. Coincidentally, Blue's dream is to become the strongest Pokemon trainer. However, the one thing that gives Professor Oak a headache is Blue's excessive arrogance, likely stemming from his exceptional talent and intelligence. Professor Oak has always tried to correct Blue's overly conceited personality but has naturally been unsuccessful because, in Blue's eyes, he is special. I am the chosen one. Among his peers, aside from that annoying childhood friend, no one can match him. After setting out on his journey, Blue became even more convinced of this. Forget peers, even trainers from the previous generation are nothing special in Blue's eyes. With just a little effort, he can surpass them all. With this being the case, why shouldn't he be proud? Blue firmly believes that this era belongs to him. This year, he will undoubtedly ascend to the top of the Kanto region with his carefully selected strongest team. He wants the whole world to remember his name, Blue Oak. But even someone as outstanding as Blue has his own troubles, for example, his little brother who never seems to let him rest easy. He and that annoying Red have been childhood friends and rivals who can't stand each other, and Blue wants to surpass Red. Not only himself, but even his little brother should naturally be better than Red's little brother. But what about now? His stupid little brother has been stuck at a gym for over a month. Damn it, he himself has already breezed through and collected all 8 gym badges, and yet his dumb little brother is still lingering here. Even Ash probably has more than 3 badges by now, right? Blue decided to personally set an example and teach this dumb little brother the correct way to earn badges. At the Rhoda Street bulletin board. Bro, over here. Gary keenly spotted Blue, who was riding on a majestic Pidgeot. As for his cheerleader girlfriends, naturally, he couldn't let Blue see them, otherwise, he'd definitely get a scolding. The heroic and robust Pidgeot descended from the sky, landing gracefully in front of Gary. Blue jumped down stylishly. Yo Gary, long time no see. You've grown taller, Blue said, walking up to Gary and patting his shoulder in his usual lazy tone. Though arrogant and conceited, Blue isn't entirely unreasonable. He cares deeply about his family, he's just often exasperated by his disappointing little brother. Bro, long time no see. Have you eaten yet? Gary asked. Not yet. Got any recommendations? Blue replied casually, his gaze falling on the bulletin board, raising an eyebrow. Tisk, interesting. It's my first time seeing a gym advertise itself on a bulletin board, Blue smirked. Let's go, Gary. We'll grab a bite first, then you can take me to that gym. With one hand casually in his pocket, Blue walked into Rhoda Street with a confident stride. Very sorry, but you didn't defeat me. During the battle, you became too anxious when you fell behind and made some wrong decisions. This is quite unqualified, Dylan said, walking up to the young girl in the miniskirt and offering his regretful advice. Hope you can overcome this next time and come back for another challenge. Yes, thank you so much for your guidance, the miniskirt girl replied, her face flushed red, clearly embarrassed by such direct criticism. She bowed formally to Dylan. Your strength is quite good. I'm looking forward to your next challenge. Keep it up, Dylan smiled warmly. Yes, the girl responded loudly and energetically. If only her face wasn't so red. The miniskirt girl ran off but then quickly ran back. Gym leader Dylan. I believe you're the best gym leader.
What they say online is totally wrong.
I'll always support you, she declared, blushing fiercely but mustering all her courage.
Thank you for your support. Dylan was taken aback for a moment, then smiled gently. Woo, I actually said it.
Covering her face, the miniskirt girl ran away, but she was clearly very happy, skipping like a joyful fawn, her skirt fluttering. Watching her leave, Dylan took the water cup handed to him by Celine and took a sip.
Another loyal fangirl added to your list, huh, gym leader?
Such a sinful charm, Celine teased, her clear, bright eyes blinking playfully.
Well, it makes sense.
After all, the gym leader is handsome and gentle, the perfect ideal type for most girls.
Looks like someone needs some discipline.
Today, I'll have dinner or train with you properly, Dylan said, pinching Celine's fair cheek.
Ah no, big brother gym leader. No, it's been almost 2 weeks, and your Litten hasn't even evolved yet.
Celine, seriously, Dylan said, feeling perhaps he'd been too gentle lately.
You aspire to surpass Lance someday and take his place. Even if you're not an official trainer yet, you can't be so unambitious. I never said I had that goal.
Celine replied cautiously, rubbing her cheek with a bitter expression.
And isn't it normal for Litten not to evolve in less than half a month? Not everyone is as monstrous as you, big brother. Didn't you want to become a champion?
Yes, but I feel Lance is a bit dangerous.
Once my strength matures, I'll challenge the Hoenn League.
That flashy champion Wallace seems pretty weak, Celine declared, puffing out her chest confidently.
Dylan felt something was off. Why did Celine seem different from when she first arrived? She shouldn't be so opportunistic and petty. Could it be his usual education methods?
No, he never taught her that.
Celine, I think. Dylan pondered seriously, deciding to have a proper talk with his first apprentice.
But before he could finish, the gym doors were pushed open.
So this is the Rhoda gym?
Quite impressive, said a young man leading the way, wearing a black shirt, purple pants, and sunglasses, looking very cool and arrogant. Behind him was Gary, looking like an obedient little brother.
Mr. Gary, are you here for another challenge? Dylan raised an eyebrow, his gaze lingering on Gary before settling on the young man in the black shirt. With spiky orange hair and a handsome face similar to Gary's, this was undoubtedly Blue. Upon seeing Dylan, Gary instinctively pouted.
Not Gary, I'm here to challenge, Blue said, eyeing Dylan with interest, exuding arrogance from head to toe.
I'm Blue. Blue Oak.
I heard that your gym made Gary fail twice.
Tisk.
With one hand in his pocket, Blue took 2 steps forward, a lazy yet provocative smile on his lips.
Interesting. Let me give it a try too.
Upon hearing this, Celine and the receptionist both frowned slightly.
This guy is even more annoying than Gary. That naturally superior and arrogant attitude is utterly infuriating. I see, Dylan didn't mind.
After all, Blue, who hadn't been humbled by Red, was like this. Blue's arrogance comes from his bones. In the games, his taunts and sarcasm toward Red were even more impressive.
This is a boy who can say, I am the world's strongest. Stronger than anyone.
Of course, Blue does have the capital to say such things. In the first generation, besides the protagonist Red, no one could match him. It wasn't until he became champion and was defeated by Red that Blue reflected on himself, slightly restraining his arrogance and becoming the Viridian gym leader.
As the gym leader, I won't refuse any challenges.
Mr. Blue, please come this way, Dylan replied with his usual gentle smile, gesturing toward the large roulette wheel. Arriving before the roulette, Blue examined the device with great interest. Gary was also a bit puzzled.
What is this?
It wasn't here during his previous challenges.
This is a new feature our gym introduced 2 days ago. Please spin it, Mr. Blue.
Whatever type it lands on will be the type of team you'll face, Dylan explained.
Tisk, interesting. It was Blue's first time encountering such a system.
With a grin, he pressed the button.
Poison and dark types? And what's this golden section? But it didn't matter. No matter what type, it made no difference because he is Blue. How hard can it be to earn a gym badge?
The roulette quickly stopped on the black section, indicating that Dylan would use a dark-type team for this gym battle.
Is that all? Blue asked casually.
Dark type? He hadn't really battled many trainers who specialized in dark types, so it was a good chance to experience it.
Of course. Dylan and Blue made their way to the battlefield, standing in their respective positions.
Meanwhile, Celine and Gary headed to the spectator seats.
The big screen lit up, displaying the half-body portraits of Dylan and Blue. Now, we begin the battle for the Rota badge. The challenger is Blue from Pallet Town. The battle rules are 4 versus 4. The gym leader, Dylan, will send out the first Pokemon and cannot switch Pokemon during the battle. The match is over when all 4 Pokemon of one side are unable to continue. Let the battle begin. After announcing the rules, the referee exited the battlefield. 4 versus 4, huh?
With one hand in his pocket, Blue glanced at the scoreboard on the big screen.
This gym leader seemed pretty confident, huh?
So far, he had challenged 8 official gyms, and only Blaine and Giovanni had given him any pressure. And in these 2 gyms, Cinnabar Gym was also a 4 versus 4 battle, while Viridian Gym was 5 versus 5. Generally speaking, the more Pokemon allowed in the battle, the stronger the gym leader's strength and the higher the difficulty.
It's all because of how strong I am.
Before we start the battle, Mr. Blue, allow me to formally introduce myself. Dylan habitually loosened his shirt collar before a battle, smiling as he spoke.
I am Dylan, the leader of this Rota gym.
This time, I'll be using a dark-type team to battle you, Mr. Blue.
Mr. Blue, do you understand dark types? Dylan's lips slowly curved into a sly smile.
Their battle styles are strange and unpredictable, powerful and wild.
They're truly exceptional Pokemon.
I hope you can deeply appreciate their charm, Mr. Blue.
Hearing Dylan's words, Blue raised an eyebrow. Indeed, there weren't many dark-type Pokemon in Kanto.
As a highly skilled trainer with excellent breeding abilities, Blue was quite interested.
Well then, let's officially begin our battle, Mr. Blue. Dylan enlarged the Pokeball in his hand and tossed it behind him. My first Pokemon will be this one. Incineroar, get ready for battle.
Accompanied by a deep growl, the menacing and fierce-looking Incineroar landed and stood tall, roaring at Blue.
An Incineroar from Alola, Blue mused, quickly recognizing the Pokemon.
Although he had never seen one in person, the official website's Pokédex had basic information on Pokemon from various regions.
Though it lacked detailed descriptions, at least the types were marked. Rhyperior. Blue didn't hesitate long before stylishly throwing out his first Pokemon. A flash of white light revealed a large Pokemon landing heavily in front of Blue.
Its primary body colors were black and orange-red, with a sharp horn in the center of its face, black voids in the middle of its claws, and a tail resembling a flail.
It was the final evolution of Rhydon.
Deep Rhyperior, ground and rock type, drill Pokemon.
Ability, Solid Rock. Moves, Stone Edge, Earthquake, Mega Horn, Drill Run, Rock Wrecker, Hammer Arm, Heavy Slam, Outrage, Inherited.
Description: when encountering a volcanic eruption, it uses its sturdy armor to protect itself and shoots circular rocks from its hands.
What a powerful Rhyperior! Celine was astonished as she looked at the information on her Pokédex. This guy named Blue, though arrogant, was indeed incredibly strong.
His strength is really impressive, no wonder he's so confident, Celine remarked.
Of course. He's my brother.
Gary, sitting not far from the 2 girls, proudly lifted his chin at their words. This time, Dylan's out of luck.
Blue has already earned 8 gym badges. Even Dylan can't be a match for him.
Gary snorted twice, full of confidence in his older brother.
That's not certain, Celine rolled her eyes. Getting 8 badges is impressive, huh?
Let's wait and see, Gary shrugged.
On the battlefield. Gym leader, I'm coming. Blue grinned.
This was the advantage of being a challenger. The gym leader would send out their Pokemon first, and the challenger could counter with a Pokemon that had a type advantage. Blue was proud, but he wasn't about to ignore a useful rule. That's why he always thought that challenging a gym wasn't difficult, as the rules were designed to favor the challenger.
Like now, Fire and Dark-type Incineroar against his Rhyperior? That's a joke. How could he lose? A simple gym challenge, he'd win with ease. Chapter 92, Is This Never Going to End? Come on, give it your all. Dylan smiled and gestured for Blue to make the first move. Incineroar. Incineroar let out a low growl at Rhyperior, an invisible aura of intimidation spreading out.
Rhyperior was surrounded by a white light, and its physical attack was lowered by one stage.
This was the effect of Incineroar's Intimidate ability. TCH Intimidate, huh? Blue clicked his tongue, but it wasn't a big deal. Rhyperior's physical attack was high enough that even being weakened once wouldn't matter much. Rhyperior. Use Earthquake. Blue flexed his hands and then swung one down with a commanding shout.
Rhyperior lifted its right foot and then stomped down hard, causing the entire battlefield to tremble violently.
A Ground-type Earthquake. An Incineroar is weak to Ground-type moves. Fake out.
But before the shockwave of Earthquake could spread, a dark light flashed in Incineroar's eyes, and it shot towards Rhyperior like a ghost.
Bang!
Incineroar's claw struck Rhyperior's face directly, causing Rhyperior's head to be slapped to the side. It stared blankly at Incineroar, the Earthquake interrupted.
Blue clicked his tongue again, a bit annoyed.
The normal-type fake-out didn't deal much damage to Rhyperior. Not only does Rhyperior resist normal-type moves, but even if it didn't, Rhyperior's high physical defense would prevent fake-out from doing much damage anyway. But having Earthquake interrupted was annoying. That's the thing about fake-out, it doesn't do much damage, but it's really aggravating.
Rhyperior, drill run. Blue continued to issue commands.
At that moment, Rhyperior came to its senses and roared at Incineroar. How dare this creature slap the great Rhyperior? The drill on Rhyperior's face started spinning at high speed, emitting a yellow light as it charged towards Incineroar, which had retreated to maintain distance.
A Ground-type drill run. Parting shot. Dylan chuckled softly.
Incineroar placed one hand on its hip, using the other to point and jabber at the approaching Rhyperior. Its trash talk clearly angered Rhyperior, whose charging speed increased, and its roar grew louder. It seemed that Incineroar's parting words had quite a sting to them. After finishing its taunt, Incineroar turned into a white light and returned to Dylan's Pokeball just before Rhyperior reached it. This was a move-induced return, which didn't violate gym leader rules.
With Incineroar's sudden disappearance, Rhyperior panted heavily in anger, the drill on its head still spinning.
But the next moment, another layer of white light spread across Rhyperior's body. The effective parting shot reduced Rhyperior's attack and special attack by one stage each.
Only playing these little tricks to avoid direct combat?
Blue frowned slightly, his handsome face showing a hint of displeasure.
The battle had just begun, and Rhyperior had already been weakened twice?
This gym leader really had some skills. Although he thought this, Blue didn't let it show, continuing to speak in a sarcastic tone.
No need to rush, Mr. Blue. Dylan didn't seem to take Blue's taunts to heart and pulled out another Pokeball to throw. Sableye, get ready for battle. Dylan tossed out his second Pokeball with a flick of his wrist.
With a flash of white light, the eerie-looking Sableye appeared in front of Dylan, staring blankly at Rhyperior with its sapphire-like eyes.
A ghost and dark-type Sableye? Quite a good combination, but its strength is low. TCH Gym Leader Dylan, this Pokemon won't be able to defeat my Rhyperior. Blue scrutinized Sableye up and down, a smirk of ridicule on his lips. That's not necessarily true, Mr. Blue.
You might have a misconception. Pokemon battles aren't just about comparing the strength and direct combat power of both sides.
Dylan shook his head and smiled as he spoke. Oh? I don't think so. Blue sneered. Strong is strong, and weak is weak.
Although Blue did not deny that even a weak Pokemon could become stronger through training, under the same training conditions, the stronger Pokemon would naturally become more powerful. Blue was well aware of this. That's why his main team consisted of carefully selected high-strength Pokemon of various types. I'd like to see for myself what you're capable of, Gym Leader Dylan.
What can you achieve with these little tricks that avoid direct confrontation? Blue's demeanor was arrogant and proud. Rhyperior. Earthquake.
Even with its attack lowered twice, Blue still believed that his Rhyperior could easily defeat that Sableye.
Fake out.
The ghostly purple figure of Sableye flashed like lightning in front of Rhyperior, its sharp claws tearing across Rhyperior's cheek.
Another normal-type fake out.
Hit once more by fake out, Rhyperior not only stood dazed for a moment but also staggered back 2 steps and fell into a state of flinching.
TCH.
Blue's face tightened with displeasure.
Mean look.
Sableye's big eyes flashed with an eerie black light as it stared at Rhyperior, casting a shadow covered in dark light over Rhyperior.
The normal-type mean look, which prevents the opponent from being withdrawn unless it faints. Blue's emotions began to waver.
Originally, if Rhyperior continued to be weakened, he could recall it with a pokeball, but now that was no longer an option.
Rhyperior, Stone Edge. With its flinch over, Blue immediately ordered Rhyperior to attack.
Rhyperior was also furious by now. Ever since it entered the battlefield, it had been taking hits. It had even been slapped twice. Rhyperior raised its right arm, the hollow in its palm glowing with a light brown energy.
Swagger.
Sableye's eyes flashed with a dark gleam, and it clapped its small claws together energetically, emitting a mysterious wave that spread towards Rhyperior.
The dark-type swagger boosts the opponent's attack but confuses it. With its prankster ability, Sableye's status moves are given priority, allowing it to act first.
Rhyperior felt its head getting dizzy, and its body began to sway left and right, unknowingly lowering its raised right arm.
Rhyperior. Snap out of it. Blue's expression changed, knowing that confusion would be troublesome.
But soon, Blue's hopes were dashed. Rhyperior staggered around as if drunk, even spinning in circles on the spot.
Yep, it's completely confused. Blue's face turned dark.
The confusion status is quite a hassle. Once confused, whether a Pokémon can hear its trainer's commands is purely up to chance.
Rhyperior. Come to your senses. Blue's voice now had a hint of agitation. Will-O-Wisp. Dylan's smile remained gentle. Damn it, he's going to use Will-O-Wisp too? Blue's face twitched.
The fire-type Will-O-Wisp releases a strange flame that causes the target to be burned. Rhyperior's attack had already been lowered by 2 stages. If it got burned, what's the point of continuing?
Rhyperior is a heavy, high-attack, high-defense Pokémon. Burns would have its physical attack, meaning Rhyperior would become a punching bag with no other use. Blue's face darkened as he watched Sableye release eerie, indescribable blue ghost flames that entered Rhyperior's body. Boom! The next second, fierce flames erupted from Rhyperior's body, and it let out a pained cry. It's burned!
Watching Rhyperior, who was still spinning around in a daze even while burned, Blue fell into deep thought.
Maybe it's better to forfeit this match? It doesn't seem worth continuing. Yay, now Rhyperior is no threat at all. Yay, Gym Leader Dylan is really awesome.
In the audience, Celine and the receptionist high-fived each other excitedly, then both looked smilingly at Gary, who wasn't far away. Mr. Gary, it seems your big brother isn't that impressive. He's not even doing as well as you did in your second challenge. The receptionist's smile was sweet and innocent, but her words were anything but.
He.
Gary's eyelid twitched, and he forced a laugh, but his toes were already digging into the ground.
Come on, big bro. I've already bragged about you, and now you're doing worse than I did on my second challenge?
I'd be doing better out there myself.
Back in the battle. Energy Ball. Following Dylan's command, Sableye brought its claws together, forming a bright green sphere of energy. A grass-type energy ball.
And Rhyperior, being both ground and rock-type, is 4 times weak to water and grass. Even with its solid rock ability reducing super effective damage, a grass-type energy ball still deals 3 times the damage to Rhyperior.
Rhyperior, dodge! Blue shouted expressionlessly.
Of course, he wasn't holding out much hope, as the currently confused Rhyperior was still swinging its punches wildly. But just as the energy ball was about to hit Rhyperior, it suddenly halted its movements, looked up, and roared angrily at the Sableye.
It's come to its senses. Blue raised an eyebrow.
It's impressive how quickly the main force he carefully selected has regained its composure. However, the roar of Rhyperior didn't last long before the energy ball hit it directly. Amid the booming sound, Rhyperior's pained cry could be heard, as the energy ball dealt significant damage. Rhyperior, earthquake.
As long as it's come to its senses, it's fine.
Blue commanded Rhyperior with full confidence, and even with burns, his Rhyperior remained powerful. Rhyperior's roar rose again as it lifted one of its feet. That roar still sounds quite spirited.
In that case, Sableye, let's have another round of taunt, Dylan smiled. Blue's expression changed.
He watched as the annoying little creature, Sableye, once again bounced around disgustingly, making irritating, hoarse screeching sounds, and clapping its little paws together in a nauseating manner.
The dark-type taunt. So annoying. And then
Rhyperior resumed its wobbly, drunken fighting steps.
Dylan nodded in satisfaction, enjoying the view. You've got to be kidding me. Is this never going to end?
Blue could barely tolerate it any longer, his face turning ashen. If it weren't for his upbringing as a grandson of Professor Oak, he would really want to curse right now.
Is this how you conduct gym battles? Trying to be obnoxious, huh? Chapter 93, This is Fraud.
Gary, your brother, doesn't seem particularly strong either. It looks like Sableye hasn't taken any damage at all, Celine said, batting her big eyes and smiling sweetly at Gary from a distance. She couldn't help it, these two brothers had such an arrogant attitude when they arrived. Anyway, she was just a receptionist, so it didn't hurt to tease them a little. Gary felt the temperature rising in his face, feeling rather flustered.
Bro! My dear bro! You've got to hold on. However, there was no need to elaborate on the battle that followed. In its burned and confused state, Rhyperior couldn't do anything.
Although 2 instances of Flatter had raised Rhyperior's special attack, to be honest, even maxing it out wouldn't have made a difference.
Because it never even got a chance to use it.
With the third energy ball hitting its mark, Rhyperior finally crashed to the ground with a loud thud, while Sableye remained completely unscathed.
Rhyperior is unable to battle. Sableye wins, the referee announced the result of the battle. Blue recalled Rhyperior with a scowl.
He wasn't upset about Rhyperior's defeat, he could only say the opponent's tactics were too dirty.
Hey, I admit, I underestimated you just now. You do have some skill.
Blue quickly regained his composure, pulled out a second pokeball, and lifted his chin arrogantly as his tone turned haughty once again. But, Gym Leader Dylan, I want you to know that these little tricks will only work once.
The same tactic won't work on me twice.
Such confidence and arrogance.
Oh. It seems Mr. Blue has come up with a countermeasure. Dylan raised an eyebrow, smiling faintly.
Just you watch.
Blue stylishly threw his second pokeball with a backhanded flick. Arcanine. Go! The pokeball opened, and a magnificent canine Pokemon leaped out in front of Blue, standing tall and gazing proudly at Sableye.
Standing over 2 meters tall, it resembled a large dog with fluffy, flaxen fur covering its face and neck, and tiger-like black and orange stripes across its body.
It looked majestic. This was Arcanine,
the evolved form of Growlive.
A very well-trained Arcanine, Dylan remarked, glancing at the Pokemon.
It had to be said, Arcanine was indeed an extremely handsome Pokemon with a high charisma. Just from its shiny coat and spirited demeanor, it was evident that Blue's Arcanine had been raised perfectly. If entered in a Pokemon contest, it would likely score highly just by standing there.
Blue's ability to train Pokemon was truly top-notch.
Of course. Blue boasted, crossing his arms. It was a talent he was particularly proud of.
Beep Arcanine, Fire-type, legendary Pokemon. Ability, Intimidate.
Moves, Extreme Speed, Flamethrower, Flare Blitz, Roar, Crunch, Play Rough, Outrage, Egg Move, Dig. Description: a beautiful Pokemon that has captivated many hearts since ancient times.
It can run as gracefully as if it were flying. This Arcanine is strong, too. Looking at the Pokédex entry, Celine's eyes sparkled. Although he was arrogant, this Blue was definitely the strongest challenger they'd seen so far. But gym leader Dylan surely has this under control. Mr. Blue, Arcanine can't avoid Sableye's status moves, Dylan pointed out thoughtfully, smiling at Blue. Arcanine couldn't avoid the confusion caused by Flatter, but being a fire type, it was immune to burns. There's no need to avoid it, Blue lifted his head, grinning confidently. I see. Dylan chuckled softly. So, Blue intended to use extreme speed to dodge Sableye's status moves boosted by Prankster. However, extreme speed wouldn't affect Sableye. Arcanine growled, releasing an invisible aura of intimidation. Sableye's body glowed white as its attack stat was lowered by 1 stage due to the Intimidate ability. Sableye, use Flatter. Extreme speed. As expected, Blue used extreme speed. Sableye began clapping and bouncing around. A mysterious aura quickly enveloped Arcanine, but a white light shone from behind Arcanine, and it vanished instantly. The priority move Extreme Speed. One of the highest priority moves. Even with the Prankster ability, hitting an Arcanine in Extreme Speed mode was nearly impossible. With Extreme Speed active, Arcanine's fur rippled gracefully, its running posture exuding unmatched elegance. In the blink of an eye, it was behind Sableye. Play rough. Mean look. Almost simultaneously, Blue and Dylan issued commands. Normal type Extreme Speed was ineffective against Sableye, so Blue could only use Extreme Speed to dodge Sableye's status moves and get close enough to attack. A pink glow covered Arcanine's claws and fangs as it lunged at the nearby Sableye. Sableye's eyes gleamed with black light, casting a shadow over Arcanine's shadow, preventing it from being recalled. However, the fairy-type move Play Rough landed squarely on Sableye, causing it to cry out in pain before being knocked back. Play Rough is super effective against Sableye. This Play Rough dealt a lot of damage. Darn, it can't be recalled again. Blue frowned slightly. With Mean Look in play, Arcanine couldn't be switched out, but for now, his priority was to defeat Sableye. Flamethrower. Strike while the iron is hot. Sableye had just been hit by Play Rough and hadn't recovered yet, making it easy to hit with a follow-up Flamethrower. Flames gathered in Arcanine's mouth as a fierce pillar of fire shot towards Sableye. Detected, Dylan glanced at Sableye. It would indeed be hard for Sableye, still trying to get up, to avoid the attack. Sableye's eyes sparkled as it made a bizarre sideways move, precisely dodging the Flamethrower. Detect, a move similar to Protect, guarantees evasion. It's pointless. A futile struggle, Blue scoffed. Arcanine used Extreme Speed again. Its movements were so fast they were almost impossible to see, incredibly swift. Under Extreme Speed, Arcanine once again positioned itself at Sableye's rear flank. Disable. At that moment, Sableye's eyes glowed eerily again, and a mysterious aura quickly spread toward Arcanine. Arcanine twisted its body in discomfort. Disable, a normal-type move. It prevents the opponent from using the same move consecutively and temporarily seals the last used move. And Arcanine had just used Extreme Speed. Arcanine, use Play Rough. Blue frowned even more deeply and quickly commanded Arcanine. Ignoring the eerie discomfort, Arcanine lunged at Sableye, its claws and fangs glowing with pink light as it attacked Sableye repeatedly. Sableye groaned in pain, and by the time Arcanine finished its Play Rough attack, Sableye was already lying on the ground, unable to continue. Sableye couldn't withstand the second super effective Play Rough attack. Sableye is unable to battle. Arcanine wins, the referee announced the battle's outcome. Well done, take a good rest, Dylan said as he recalled Sableye, offering some comfort. While it was unfortunate Sableye couldn't endure the second Play Rough, there was nothing more to be done. Blue's Arcanine was clearly at a higher level than Sableye, and Sableye's defense was only average. This was also a limitation for a gym leader. If Dylan could freely switch Pokemon, he certainly wouldn't have had Sableye face off against Arcanine. Did you see that? I knew Blue would win.
Gary immediately came to life in the audience, speaking proudly to Celine and the receptionist. TCH, Sableye also defeated Rhyperior, Celine grumbled unhappily.
That's only because Blue didn't know Dylan's tactics at first. Do you even understand how valuable an Arcanine with extreme speed is? Gary retorted, not caring at all.
With how sneaky Dylan's team was, falling to a surprise tactic was normal.
But with Blue's ability to adapt and his strength, there's no doubt he'll beat Dylan. Arcanine is amazing. How could there be a Pokemon as handsome and strong as Arcanine?
Classified as a legendary Pokemon, Arcanine really has that kind of power.
Just watch, Blue won't lose a single match next. Arcanine will take down 4 in a row. Gary declared confidently.
But, Mr. Gary. Celine thought for a moment, exchanged a glance with the receptionist, and they both saw the odd expression in each other's eyes.
Question mark. Does your brother know you hype him up like this all the time? The receptionist asked curiously. Gary was annoyed. What do they mean by saying he hypes up Blue? It seems these two women still don't understand reality. His brother Blue is unbeatable. On the battlefield. Incineroar. Dylan threw out Incineroar's Pokeball again. Incineroar returned to the field and snarled viciously at Arcanine.
Arcanine wasn't intimidated at all, responding with a low, authoritative growl at Incineroar.
Intimidate.
Both Incineroar and Arcanine's physical attack stats dropped by 1 stage.
Next, it's going to use Fake Out. Damn, extreme speed is sealed by Disable. Blue frowned. Fake Out.
As expected, Incineroar turned into a red blur and charged right up to Arcanine, slashing the air with its claws.
Bang!
Incineroar's attack landed a solid hit on Arcanine, causing it to stagger back a few steps and flinch.
Parting shot.
Incineroar unleashed a flurry of insults at Arcanine. Visibly, Arcanine bared its fangs, glaring angrily at Incineroar. After finishing its verbal taunt, Incineroar grinned and returned to its Pokeball as a flash of white light. The white glow faded from Arcanine's body, reducing both its attack and special attack by 1 stage.
Blue's eye twitched. He suddenly realized that this tactic was incredibly dirty.
Incineroar comes out with Intimidate, uses Fake Out to deal a bit of free damage without getting hurt, then uses Parting Shot to switch out, replacing itself. It then uses Fake Out again and, with its Prankster ability, traps the opposing Pokemon with Mean Look, preventing it from being recalled.
If Dylan didn't limit the normal exchange of Pokemon, how could he even fight? Blue's gaze became odd as he looked at Dylan. Noticing Blue's stare, Dylan gave him a warm and friendly smile. Drapion, get ready for battle. With a quick toss, Dylan released his third Pokeball.
The fierce and intimidating Drapion landed heavily in front of Dylan, swinging its pincers as it roared at Arcanine.
Wow, it's the gym leader's Drapion. Celine's eyes lit up.
This was one of her gym leader's main Pokemon. Plus, she had watched the video of Dylan's battle against Red.
Drapion's fierce performance made Celine like it a lot.
She had even decided that she would catch a Drapion for herself someday. Standing next to her, Gary took out his Pokédex and looked up Drapion's moves. A sense of unease suddenly crept into his heart.
Drapion, a poison and dark type. Blue analyzed Drapion, recalling its types from memory.
This is the mark of a skilled trainer. Arcanine growled authoritatively at Drapion. Intimidate activated, causing Drapion to glow briefly as its attack stat dropped by 1 stage. Arcanine, use Flamethrower. Blue decided to play it safe since extreme speed was sealed. Arcanine gathered intense flames in its mouth and shot a blazing stream of fire toward Drapion.
Drapion, use Toxic Spikes, Dylan said gently. Blue's pupils suddenly shrank.
Drapion's pincers came together, forming a dark purple energy sphere that it hurled into the air.
Toxic Spikes, a poison-type move.
Flamethrower hit Drapion head-on, causing it to let out a low roar of pain, flames scattering everywhere. Despite this, Drapion's fierce eyes stayed locked on Arcanine. Being a poison-type, Drapion could withstand the Flamethrower. In the air, the toxic spikes burst apart with a pop, scattering sinister-looking purple fluids that eventually soaked into the battlefield. The whole field glowed with an eerie deep purple light for a moment before returning to normal. Blue's face turned dark with anger. The irritating move, toxic spikes, had slowly spread throughout the Kanto region. He could deal with the toxic spikes, but the problem was that Arcanine couldn't be recalled. His Arcanine couldn't counter the toxic spikes. "Didn't you say you were using a Dark-type team?" Blue questioned Dylan. "Wasn't it supposed to be a Dark-type team? What's with the toxic spikes? Weren't you going to show me the strength and wild nature of Dark-type Pokemon? You're a gym leader, how can you lie? Damn it, this is fraud, you scoundrel." Dylan was taken aback by the question, then looked at Blue with a half-smile. "Mr. Blue, you're quite funny. Just tell me, does Drapion have a dark type or not?" Chapter 94, Who in the world allowed you to become a gym leader? Just answer me, does Drapion have the dark type or not? Hearing this question from Dylan, Blue was stunned. "You?" Blue's eyes widened. "Yes, Drapion does indeed have the dark type. But isn't toxic spikes part of a poison type strategy? Where's your dark type trainer pride? How can you call yourself a dark type specialist like this?" Gentleman Blue, utilizing the moves and type combinations a Pokemon knows is an important part of battle. You can't say that just because I'm using a dark type team, I can't use moves of other types, right? Dylan spread his hands and smiled. "I think your mindset is a bit problematic." Dylan pretended to sigh. Blue was speechless. What Dylan said wasn't wrong, and Blue didn't know how to argue back. Fine. Blue let out a frustrated laugh, although it looked more like a dry smile. "Arcanine, use Flamethrower." Damn it. Today, he's definitely going to crush this gym leader. Even though Dylan made sense, Blue was still furious. He has to win. He must win. Arcanine gathered intense flames in its mouth, and a scorching flamethrower shot toward Drapion. "Cross poison," Dylan said with a light chuckle. Drapion let out a growl, and its pincers glowed with a purple light as a sharp cross-shaped energy blade sliced through the air. Boom! The cross poison clashed violently with the flamethrower in midair, dark purple energy colliding fiercely with the red flames. But soon, the cross poison overpowered the flamethrower, advancing steadily. With Arcanine's special attack having been lowered earlier, it couldn't match Drapion in a direct confrontation anymore. Realizing this, Blue's expression darkened. This Drapion is incredibly strong. "Arcanine, dodge!" Blue immediately ordered. The flamethrower couldn't hold off the cross poison any longer, and continuing to push would be futile. Arcanine quickly tried to sidestep, but just as it moved, the menacing purple poison spikes already seeped into its body. The layer of toxic spikes had activated. With a grim expression, Blue watched as Arcanine winced in pain, unable to move immediately. Boom! The cross poison slammed into Arcanine, exploding on impact. Arcanine was sent flying and crashed into the ground. Damn it! Blue's brow furrowed. The toxic spikes on the field were a perfect counter to Arcanine's agility. He should have cleared the field first, but Arcanine was trapped by Disable and couldn't switch out. Drapion, pursuit! Dylan's smile deepened. Drapion dashed forward at a speed that belied its large frame, its tail glowing with a dark energy as it struck out. A dark-type pursuit. If the opponent has just been attacked, pursuit's power doubles. Arcanine! Blue's expression tensed. Arcanine painfully leapt into the air, its body glowing white. Its extreme speed, previously sealed by Disable, had finally been freed. Bam! Pursuit slammed into the spot where Arcanine had just been, but it had managed to dodge. However, now in the air, Arcanine had become a sitting duck. Cross poison. Long. Drapion roared and crossed its pincers, sending another sharp purple energy blade hurtling through the air. Boom! Cross poison struck Arcanine again, sending it crashing down from the sky. Ugh! Blue gritted his teeth in frustration. The situation had become dire.
Even though poison-type moves aren't super effective against Arcanine, repeated hits were taking their toll. Drapion, Earthquake. Drapion's tail raised high and slammed into the ground. Arcanine, Roar. Without hesitation, Blue shouted his command.
Ground-type Earthquake would be super effective against Arcanine, and if it landed, who knows if Arcanine could withstand it.
Plus, this Drapion is very strong. Arcanine wasn't having an easy time dealing with it. Arcanine struggled to lift its head and let out an intimidating roar.
A wave of near-physical sound energy surged outward, catching Drapion off guard and forcing it to retreat.
The normal-type roar.
It could force the opponent to switch out, bringing a random Pokémon into battle.
Long. Drapion glared angrily at Arcanine. It had just started getting into the fight. How could Arcanine do this? Drapion mentally cursed, hoping that it wouldn't pull out a troublesome teammate. But under Roar's forced effect, Drapion reluctantly returned to Dylan's Pokeball, despite its frustration. Phew!
Both Blue and the spectators, including Gary, breathed a sigh of relief. Roar had worked.
If the Earthquake had landed, it would have been disastrous. However,
in the next moment, one of the Pokeballs on Dylan's belt opened by itself. A flash of white light revealed a dark-colored Pokémon floating in front of Dylan, looking confusedly between Arcanine and Dylan.
Dylan blinked, then gave Blue a strange look. Blue stared at the unfamiliar black Pokémon, slowly widening his eyes as he recognized it. In the audience, Gary fell silent as he looked down at the entry in his Pokédex. Celine. The receptionist, pfft.
Mr. Blue, it seems you hit the jackpot, Dylan said, somewhat sheepishly. The Pokémon that had been randomly switched in by Roar was none other than Darkrai. Dylan hadn't originally planned on using Darkrai, even though he counted it as part of his Dark-type team.
Though Darkrai wasn't as powerful as some of his other Pokémon, it was still a mythical Pokémon. And the inherent strength of mythical Pokémon was something else entirely. Even fully grown pseudo-legendary Pokémon couldn't match Darkrai at the same level.
This was the reality of natural-born superiority. Legendary Pokémon are blessed by the heavens.
Of course, that didn't mean ordinary Pokémon couldn't defeat legends.
It always depended on training, strategy, battle type, and other factors. A battle's outcome was never determined by raw power alone, well, except when the strength gap was too vast. You couldn't expect a Caterpie to go up against its distant relative, Mega Rayquaza, right? Blue glared at the nightmarish Darkrai in front of him. He really wanted to ask Dylan something. Are you serious? Are you out of your mind? Why would you bring a Darkrai to a gym battle against a challenger? Isn't this supposed to be a pure Dark-type team? Oh, right, Darkrai is a Dark-type. But still, my Arcanine may be classified as a legendary Pokémon, but it's not an actual legend, okay? And you're battling it with a mythical Pokémon? Who in the world allowed you to become a gym leader? With talent like yours, you should be challenging the league, making a name for yourself, not terrorizing gym challengers. The gym fell into an awkward silence. Mr. Blue, aren't you going to attack? Dylan asked, curious. If you don't attack, I will. After all, you're the one who pulled out this Darkrai. He. Blue's face twitched at Dylan's words, and he shot Arcanine a death glare. Just look at the mess you've gotten us into. Arcanine looked pitifully back at him. It was only following orders. No matter. I'm Blue of the Oak family. So what if it's a Darkrai? That's nothing to worry about. Blue took a deep breath, calming himself down, constantly reminding himself to stay focused. I'm going to be the champion of Kanto. A mere Darkrai is no big deal. That's right, the Pokémon I train are just as strong as any legendary. I will become the best. With that inner pep talk, Blue regained his confidence and stood tall, facing Darkrai. Arcanine, extreme speed. Blue commanded with renewed vigor. Arcanine crouched low, eyes fierce, as a white light flared behind it, signaling the priority move, extreme speed. But just as Arcanine dashed forward 2 meters, it froze, its body surrounded by a deep purple glow.
toxic spikes had taken effect. Blue frowned, realizing he had forgotten about the poison. Darkrai, Dark Pulse. Darkrai floated toward Arcanine, its shadowy claws flickering with black energy that danced between its fingers. With a flick of its right hand, a wave of dark energy shot toward Arcanine. Dark-type Dark Pulse. Boom! The Dark Pulse struck Arcanine hard, creating a shockwave as Arcanine cried out in pain, sent flying backward. But before Arcanine could even hit the ground, Darkrai, now close, swung its left hand, unleashing another wave of Dark Pulse. Another Dark Pulse. Arcanine! Blue gasped. Boom! Arcanine hadn't even landed before the second Dark Pulse hit it, causing another powerful explosion. Dust filled the air as the shockwave spread. Darkrai calmly retreated back to Dylan's side, its white hair flowing like mist, radiating an eerie, elegant, and terrifying aura. As the dust settled, Arcanine lay on the ground, its eyes swirling in defeat. Arcanine is unable to battle. Darkrai wins. The referee announced the result of the battle. Yay! Darkrai is so cool. Celine's eyes sparkled with admiration as she gazed dreamily at Darkrai in the arena, practically drooling over it. How can a Darkrai be this cool and adorable at the same time? Mr. Gary, Arcanine's down too, the receptionist teased, smiling mischievously at Gary. Gary was lost in deep thought. On the battlefield. Blue withdrew Arcanine, staring at it for a long moment before lifting his gaze back to Darkrai with a frown. Its speed and power were impressive, and it could float. This wasn't going to be easy. As expected of a legendary Pokémon, it's as strong as they say. Blue calmly adjusted his black shirt, giving his evaluation. Thanks for the compliment. I hadn't planned on using Darkrai, but given the current situation, things are a bit special, Dylan said with a smile, gesturing to Blue. Let's see how you handle my Darkrai, Mr. Blue. Blue's expression darkened immediately. He really wished he knew how to handle this Darkrai right now. Chapter 95, This is a gym battle where I bet my dignity. How should I battle Darkrai? Blue's expression shifted between uncertainty and determination. Darkrai is a pure Dark-type Pokémon, but there are still toxic spikes on the field. Regardless of how he looked at it, clearing the field had to come first, otherwise, those spikes would be a huge problem, especially in critical moments when the poison could turn the tide. Even if his opponent was a legendary Pokémon, Proud Blue would never give up. He was determined to win. Without hesitation, Blue threw out his third Pokeball. A flash of white light revealed Blastoise, who swiftly spun across the battlefield, its rapid rotation creating a gust of wind that blew away the toxic spikes before it landed in front of Blue. What a fierce-looking Blastoise, the receptionist remarked with surprise. Normally, Blastoise wasn't exactly cute, but it wasn't supposed to be scary either. However, Blue's Blastoise exuded an overwhelming, intimidating aura, its expression fierce and aggressive, almost unsettling. This Blastoise is similar to the one from Pokémon Origins. It's been very well trained, Celine observed, her eyes studying the Pokémon. Not only was this Blastoise larger than usual, but its exposed limbs and head were impressively muscular, showing it had been trained exceptionally well. Beep Blastoise, Water-type, Turtle Pokémon. Ability, Torrent. Moves, Aura Sphere, Hydro Cannon, Iron Defense, Shell Smash, Aqua Tail, Tackle, Rapid Spin, Water Spout, Egg Move, Aura Sphere. Info, the powerful water jets it fires from its shell can pierce thick steel plates with ease. This Blastoise was indeed strong. On the battlefield. Darkrai, move closer and use Dark Pulse, Dylan ordered, eyeing the menacing Blastoise. It was likely stronger than Red's. And rightly so. Blue prided himself on his training abilities. Plus, it had been nearly 2 weeks since Dylan's last battle with Red. For most people, 2 weeks might not seem like much, but for prodigies like Red and Blue, it was enough time for significant progress, as both were still in a rapid growth phase, far from their peak. Darkrai dashed toward Blastoise, black energy flickering between its claws like tiny spirits. Hydro Pump! Blue shouted suddenly. Blastoise let out a low growl as the twin cannons on its back lit up with a bright blue glow, unleashing a massive torrent of water. Water-type hydro pump.
The sheer volume of water was terrifying, as a tidal wave surged toward Darkrai.
At full health, hydro pump's power was immense.
But as the nearly overwhelming wave approached, Darkrai, expressionless, swung its right arm.
Dark energy pulsed outward, unleashing a dark-type dark pulse. Boom! A massive explosion rang out as Dark Pulse tore a hole through the giant wave, causing Blue's eyelid to twitch. Darkrai's special attack power was incredible.
Darkrai sped through the opening it had created and closed in on Blastoise.
Moving in close? You're too arrogant, Dylan. Blue shouted confidently, swinging his arm.
If Darkrai had stayed at a distance, Blastoise would have struggled to land a hit, and Blue would have had to come up with a way to get close.
But now, Darkrai had moved right into his trap. Blastoise, body press.
Blastoise charged at Darkrai with ferocious power.
Fighting-type body press.
Darkrai, being a pure dark type, was weak to fighting moves.
You're the arrogant one, Blue, Dylan smirked as he saw Blastoise recklessly charging. Darkrai, Dark Void.
Darkrai swiftly shifted backward, avoiding the full force of Blastoise's attack, and raised its right arm, forming a deep, dark energy ball in its claw.
Dark-type Dark Void. Darkrai's signature move. With a flick of its arm, Darkrai launched the Dark Void toward the oncoming Blastoise. Wait! Blastoise!
Blue wasn't sure what this move was, but he sensed something was wrong.
But it was too late. As Blastoise made contact with the Dark Void, the sphere expanded instantly, enveloping the Pokémon completely.
Now, only a pitch-black orb remained where Blastoise once stood, its figure completely obscured.
What is this? Blue gasped in shock. Where was his massive Blastoise? And hadn't it been in the middle of a body press?
Even if there was a collision of moves, it shouldn't have been this one-sided.
Blastoise didn't even manage to make a splash before being swallowed whole.
Dark Void, it drags the opponent into a world of darkness, putting them into a deep sleep.
Darkrai's Dark Void is quite unreasonable, Mr. Blue. Did you really think I let my Darkrai, a special attacker, get close to your Blastoise without reason? Dylan explained, shaking his head.
As a proper gym leader, it was his duty to clarify such things for challengers. There was nothing to hide here.
Dark Void was indeed an overpowered control move. If you touched it, no matter what move you were using, it would drag you into its dark realm and put you to sleep. The only downside to Dark Void was its accuracy. Since it was a projectile, opponents could usually dodge it from a distance. But at close range, the hit rate skyrocketed.
As Dark Void dissipated, Blastoise's figure came back into view, but its eyes were closed, and it had fallen into a deep sleep.
It's asleep now, Blue muttered with a furrowed brow.
Darkrai gazed at Blastoise, its eyes glowing with eerie black light. The next moment, Blastoise's face contorted in pain as it let out a tortured cry, as if suffering from something terrible.
What's happening now?
Blue was utterly confused, but then he remembered the rumors about Darkrai. Darkrai's ability, Bad Dreams, causes any Pokémon near it and asleep to suffer damage from nightmares. The longer they remain asleep, the worse the damage, Dylan calmly explained to Blue. As a responsible gym leader, he took it upon himself to educate challengers, and this was no secret.
How nasty! Blue's handsome face darkened. Even sleep couldn't be peaceful around this evil Pokémon?
I'll take that as a compliment, Mr. Blue, Dylan replied with a bright, unaffected smile. He was used to hearing words like nasty, which didn't bother him in the slightest. Blue was exasperated, but before he could think of his next move, Dylan issued another command.
Darkrai, Thunder. Darkrai's body crackled with electric energy as a golden bolt of lightning shot toward the sleeping Blastoise. Return, Blastoise. Blue's face changed, and he quickly withdrew Blastoise into its Pokeball.
The recall beam hit Blastoise just before the thunderous bolt of electricity, narrowly avoiding the attack.
Smart move, Dylan raised an eyebrow, impressed. That was fast. TCH. Blue clicked his tongue in annoyance.
He couldn't stand Dylan's condescending attitude, like an elder evaluating a junior, despite the fact that Dylan didn't seem that much older than him.
But there was no denying this guy was strong, and how in the world had he even caught this Darkrai? It was absurd. Machamp. After pondering for a moment, Blue threw out his fourth Pokeball. Machamp appeared in front of Blue, flexing its four muscular arms, glaring at Darkrai menacingly. Darkray's expression remained unchanged, its blue eyes calmly observing Machamp.
Mr. Blue, using Machamp against Darkrai may not be the best choice, Dylan remarked, glancing at Machamp. It was a powerful and imposing Pokemon, to be sure, and it had a type advantage over Darkrai.
Humph.
We'll see about that once the battle begins, Blue scoffed defiantly. I see, Dylan nodded, clearly aware that Blue had a strategy.
Machamp, Bullet Punch. Without hesitation, Blue gave the command. Machamp roared, its four fists gleaming with a metallic sheen as it charged toward Darkrai at impressive speed.
Steel-type Bullet Punch. It was a priority move. So it inherited Bullet Punch.
Now it made sense why Blue chose Machamp for this battle. Dylan immediately understood the plan.
Machamp was a beast in close combat, and all it needed was a way to get near its opponent. Even Darkrai would have a hard time dealing with Machamp up close.
But Mr. Blue, you've also given Darkrai an opportunity, Dylan's lips curled slightly.
Blue's plan was solid, but it wouldn't work.
Machamp closed in on Darkrai, its bullet punches raining down with precision, giving Darkrai no room to escape.
Darkrai, Psychic, Dylan calmly commanded. Darkray's blue eyes lit up with a deep, intense glow as Machamp's body froze mid-punch, its whole frame outlined in the same eerie blue light.
Psychic, a powerful control move.
Machamp's struggles came to a halt, and its massive body slowly began to lift off the ground, floating into the air under Darkray's psychic control.
Machamp. Blue's face twisted in shock. Machamp strained to break free, but the grip of Darkray's psychic attack was surprisingly strong.
Darkrai raised its arms slowly, and as it did, Machamp's body floated higher and higher.
The strain was evident. Machamp was powerful, but controlling it wasn't easy. Clearly, Blue's Machamp had high-level strength, perhaps even stronger than Darkrai.
At level 50, Darkrai was likely below Machamp in raw power. And this was after Dylan had trained Darkrai a bit. When he first captured it, Darkrai had only been level 41, which explained how Team Rocket had managed to catch it.
Machamp. Use Rock Slide. Blue immediately shouted at Machamp.
Machamp's face bulged with veins as it roared, and massive rocks materialized in front of it. As long as there wasn't a significant power gap and the Pokemon wasn't completely immobilized by a strong psychic hold, some controlled Pokemon could still use moves.
The boulders from Rock Slide plummeted toward Darkrai. Darkrai immediately retreated to dodge, but the psychic control lost its effect. Machamp, Cross Chop.
Machamp landed safely and immediately let out a loud battle cry as it charged at Darkrai, the two arms on its back glowing with white light in a cross shape.
Fighting-type Cross Chop.
That's why I said Pokemon that only rely on brute strength and have nothing but muscles in their heads are the easiest to deal with, Dylan sighed softly. Instead of retreating, Darkrai advanced. Between its claws, a black energy sphere condensed.
Dark Void. But Darkrai didn't throw it. Instead, it held the Dark Void in its claws and met Machamp head-on. Machamp. Blue frowned.
Machamp and Darkrai rushed toward each other, the distance between them closing rapidly. 5 steps, 3 steps, 1 step. Machamp's two arms suddenly swung down toward Darkrai, the howling wind as sharp as a blade, a testament to how heavy this cross-chop was.
But Darkray's blue eyes remained calm and unaffected.
It had already predicted Machamp's attack, and its body sidestepped gracefully at close range, effortlessly avoiding Machamp's cross-chop.
Brick break! But Machamp had 2 more arms. Machamp raised its head and gave a low growl at Darkrai, transforming its hands into blades and slashing horizontally toward Darkrai.
However, Darkrai was faster. The Dark Void it held in its right hand slammed directly into Machamp's face.
One move, Dark Void Rasengan.
The moment it made contact with Machamp, the Dark Void expanded rapidly, swallowing Machamp entirely.
Thud.
Machamp's incredibly muscular body crashed to the ground, and a thunderous snoring echoed through the arena.
Yes, Macamp had fallen asleep. Blue. Watching Macamp sleep soundly, even drooling, Blue was left in a daze. Macamp was enjoying its sleep now, but soon, under the bad dreams ability, it would be in agony. No, that wasn't the point right now. With Macamp asleep and Blastoise still knocked out, how was he supposed to fight? Was he just supposed to sit and wait for defeat? For the first time, Blue felt lost in battle. The real problem was, he hadn't taught them sleep talk or snore. Should he just give up? This battle was already over. But wouldn't that be embarrassing? Blue pondered. That expression is so funny.
Seeing Blue's confused and dazed look on the battlefield, the receptionist covered her mouth, trying hard not to laugh out loud.
Celine was also thoroughly entertained, sneaking glances at Gary nearby.
Ever since Arcanine had been knocked out, Gary hadn't uttered a word, seemingly retreating into himself.
The following battle didn't need much explanation. Blue clung to his pride and didn't immediately surrender.
Darkrai knocked out Macamp with 3 psychic attacks, then took down Blastoise with 2 thunderbolts and bad dreams.
Darkrai successfully defeated 3 Pokémon in a row.
You performed excellently, as expected of my Darkrai.
After the referee announced the result, Dylan walked up to Darkrai on the battlefield, smiling as he praised it. Darkrai's blue eyes showed a hint of joy and a slight smile as it nodded at Dylan.
On the other side, Blue stared at the Pokeball in his hand containing Blastoise, his eyes vacant and filled with disbelief.
I actually lost? Blue's usually proud face now bore traces of shock. He lost? And to a gym leader? A complete defeat. This wasn't how the script was supposed to go.
Blue scratched his head vigorously, messing up his hair. No, this was completely wrong. How could he lose to a gym leader?
It didn't make sense. It's unfortunate, Mr. Blue, you didn't manage to defeat me. Dylan approached Blue with a smile.
Blue. But through the battle, I've come to personally understand, Mr. Blue, your strength is remarkable, and your Pokémon are exceptionally well trained.
Blue. Blue's face wasn't looking good.
Although this was praise from an opponent, as the loser, Blue's strong sense of pride made it difficult to accept. Noticing Blue's expression, Dylan's lips curled slightly, and a special idea came to him.
It's no surprise that Red mentioned you. After today's battle, I can see he wasn't lying, Mr. Blue, you're indeed strong. Blue was startled and immediately frowned. You know that guy, Red? Did he also challenge you? As expected, Blue quickly responded, having noticed Dylan's mention of Red.
What kind of relationship did these two have? Yes, although it wasn't in this gym, I did have a battle with Red.
That guy Red definitely couldn't beat you, right? Blue was certain. If he couldn't beat Dylan, there was no way Red could. Absolutely no way. Actually, yes.
I also had a 4v4 battle with Red, and it was the first time I faced such a strong challenger.
He defeated 2 of my main Pokémon. If it weren't for... Wait a second. Blue, his face darkening, interrupted Dylan's reminiscing. Did he hear that right? What is it, Mr. Blue? Dylan asked with feigned curiosity. Gym leader Dylan, did Red beat 2 of your main Pokémon? Yes. That's impossible. Blue's expression cracked. How could that be?
He himself had only managed to defeat 1 of Dylan's main Pokémon, so how could that Red guy defeat 2?
But that's the truth.
You can still find the video of my battle with Red online, it was recorded. Dylan tilted his head slightly, looking a bit troubled.
Perhaps you've misunderstood Red? In fact, he's incredibly strong. You don't need to tell me that, I already know.
Blue gritted his teeth. He knew very well how strong his childhood friend and rival was.
But it was unacceptable. How could he be worse than that guy? Unacceptable. Gym leader Dylan. You have a Pokémon transfer machine here, right?
Yes, Mr. Blue, but why? I have other main Pokémon stored at my grandfather's lab. Please let me continue to challenge you.
I can still fight. Well, it's getting late. Please. I beg you. Even though you're asking so earnestly. This is a gym battle where I'm betting my dignity. Please, I beg of you.
For the first time, Blue was pleading so sincerely with someone, and all because of that quiet childhood rival.
Chapter 96, Just Shut Up. Dylan's expression was peculiar at the moment.
If one had to describe it, it could be summed up as awkward. He had only wanted to tease Blue a little by bringing up Red, but unexpectedly, Blue's stubborn side had kicked in.
Mr. Blue, gym challenges aren't something to be taken lightly. Besides, with your current strength, even if you didn't defeat me, you still qualify to receive the Rhoda badge. The implication: stop messing around. Just take the badge and leave. Dylan carefully chose his words and took out a box containing the Rhoda badge, offering it to Blue.
Although Blue had indeed lost this gym battle quite badly, especially since his team was swept by Darkrai, that didn't negate his overall strength, which was worthy of a badge.
In fact, this was the third time Dylan had attempted to give out the Rhoda badge.
The first was to Red, the second to a diligent, bespectacled trainer who kept challenging him, and now the third time was to Blue. Dylan's criteria for awarding badges were quite high: strength, or potential, willpower, mindset, and command ability were all essential. Though Dylan always projected a sunny and polite image, deep down, he was proud and would only give his badge to someone who truly earned his approval. To compete in the Indigo League, trainers only needed 8 gym badges, and with Kanto's 8 official gyms plus a number of smaller, unknown gyms, there were plenty of badges to earn without ever visiting the Rhoda gym. So, Dylan wasn't about to lower his standards. He aimed to make the Rhoda gym's badge the most prestigious one of all.
What do you mean by this, Dylan?
But upon seeing the box with the Rhoda badge, Blue's face immediately soured.
Don't misunderstand, Mr. Blue.
Since you're the grandson of Professor Oak, you should understand that gym leaders have more criteria for awarding badges than simply being defeated in battle. To be frank, with your strength, you're practically guaranteed to win the Indigo League, so you deserve this dark Rhoda badge.
Dylan opened the box, showing Blue the badge inside.
Blue's frown deepened as he stared at the dark Rhoda badge, which had been named by Dylan himself. The badge was exquisitely crafted, emitting a faint glow. Blue, with his sharp eye, could tell at a glance that the material used to make it was far from ordinary. The badge even featured a small, stunning black diamond as decoration, making it look truly exceptional. The Rhoda gym currently has 2 different types of badges, Dark and Poison, each corresponding to different attributes. Only those who have earned my approval for their mastery of these attributes will receive one.
Wow, your gym is really over the top, isn't it? Even the badges have attributes? What, are you planning to make 18 different kinds of badges to match every type?
Blue was stunned and momentarily speechless.
Normally, for challengers with strength like yours, Mr. Blue, I'd take the battle seriously.
This badge should rightfully be a testament to your victory, but, since I awakened, I haven't given out a single badge. At this point, that doesn't seem quite right either.
Dylan spoke with some helplessness. Though Officer Jenny understood Dylan's criteria for awarding badges, after all, each gym leader had different standards for their challengers, Jenny had still expressed concern.
After all, Dylan hadn't given out a single badge in over a month, which was even stricter than Viridian or Cinnabar gyms.
Hearing Dylan's honest words, Blue's expression softened significantly.
His pride was immense, and it was precisely because of that pride that, in the original story, he'd lost his cool after Red dethroned him as champion so quickly.
Dylan, I must seriously tell you, you've got the wrong person.
Blue's handsome face now carried a rebellious expression, and his previously messy spiky hair was slicked back as he regained his confident, radiant self.
I'm Blue.
Humph, even if I'm going to get a badge, I'll do it by beating you fair and square.
You're giving me one? What do you mean by that? This is practically an insult to me. If it weren't you, Dylan.
Blue's arrogant and self-assured tone returned, but to Dylan, it made him seem surprisingly endearing and even a bit amusing.
But Mr. Blue, this badge is what you deserve. No buts. Blue waved his arm dramatically, cutting Dylan off in a righteous tone, his voice booming. I'd rather never get the Rhoda badge than accept a handout. If I take this badge, what's the difference between me and a beggar?
Blue's determination was clear, and it was also a reflection of his true thoughts at that moment. Celine and the receptionist, watching from the audience, were both taken aback, their impression of Blue shifting as they gained newfound respect for him.
Though arrogant, he clearly had principles. Besides,
I don't believe I can't earn this badge through my own skill, Blue added, glancing confidently at Dylan.
Dylan, I've got to say, I respect you. You're the first man who's ever made me lose so badly. I'm honored, Dylan chuckled.
Leave it to Blue to lose a match yet speak as if he'd won.
This isn't funny. You don't understand, Blue protested, trying to be serious despite the amused smile on Dylan's face. I've been a prodigy since I was a kid. No one, not even Red, can compare. Blue wasn't lying.
Red was his lifelong rival, but up until now, they had battled 5 times, with Blue winning 3 of those matches. Though Blue always claimed that the 2 losses were due to Red's luck, believing he should have had a perfect record.
Mr. Blue, the world is a big place. Dylan sighed. It was clear to him that Blue genuinely believed what he was saying. Blue's arrogance was deeply ingrained because he had always seen himself as a natural-born genius.
Of course, the world is big. But Dylan, I'm going to tell you right now, I will stand at the top.
Blue's lifelong dream was to become the world's strongest trainer, and he firmly believed he could achieve that. I don't doubt it, Dylan nodded. Blue would definitely become one of the top trainers. As for the very best, well, that seemed unlikely. See? I knew you'd get me, Dylan. Blue's eyes lit up, and he smirked, satisfied.
He was beginning to like this gym leader. Not in that way, of course, but Dylan was strong enough to be his friend, and their personalities clicked, even if they didn't see eye to eye on everything.
Dylan was way more likable than that gloomy Red.
Clearly, the whole childhood friends thing was just a fluke.
But, Dylan, is there really no way we can keep battling today? I've got plenty more Pokemon. Blue checked the time.
It was already 4:30 p.m., so it was getting late, but he wasn't ready to give up.
Why should Red get to beat 2 of Dylan's main Pokemon? That was totally unfair. Plus, Blue really wanted Dylan's badge. Hadn't Dylan just said that he hadn't given out a badge in over a month? Well, it was about time for Blue to change that. I believe in you, Mr. Blue. How about this, why don't you come back when you're fully prepared? Dylan thought for a moment before suggesting this. Or, are you saying you don't need any preparation to beat me? If that's the case, I'd say you're underestimating me. I guess I didn't think this through. Blue frowned. He respected Dylan's strength, especially since he'd just suffered a brutal defeat.
If he was going to challenge Dylan again, he needed to win, and rushing in with a hastily assembled team wouldn't get him past that Darkrai. In that case, I'll go back and reconsider my strategy and team composition.
Blue made up his mind.
Dylan was the strongest opponent he'd faced so far, and he needed to be fully prepared if he wanted to win.
Dylan, you just wait.
Next time, I'll defeat you fair and square and take that Rhoda badge. Blue's confidence was shining through once again, the spirit of a young and determined trainer radiating from him, making him look dashing and charming. You had to admit, apart from his extreme arrogance, Blue really was an outstanding individual in every way.
I'm looking forward to it, Dylan smiled and nodded. All right, I'm heading out. Gary.
Blue shrugged, returning to his usual laid-back tone as he turned to leave, even calling out to Gary in the audience.
Oh, by the way, Dylan. Yes, Mr. Blue? Dylan looked curiously at Blue, who had suddenly turned back. Dylan looked curiously at Blue, who had turned back. Just call me Blue.
After all, you're a gym leader I respect, Blue casually waved his hand. I'm curious about the golden lineup on your spinner, Blue asked with interest.
Oh, that's a special perk for challengers, the legendary gold lineup, Dylan replied with a light smile. Legendary gold? Blue was taken aback.
Yes, if you land on that, I'll use a team composed entirely of legendary Pokemon.
However, it currently only supports 2v2 battles. Blue was shocked. So you're saying you have more than just Darkrai as your legendary Pokemon? And you consider this a perk? You use legendary Pokemon to face challengers? Who taught you that?
Also, if you can defeat me using the legendary lineup, not only will you receive the highly valuable legendary Rhoda badge, but you'll also get a mysterious gift from me.
Mr. Blue, aren't you looking forward to it? Dylan said with a gentle smile, teasing Blue. Hearing this, Blue's expression became a bit awkward. Defeating Darkrai and another unknown legendary Pokemon in a 2v2 battle. Ahem. This is interesting. Blue cleared his throat twice, waved to Gary, and left the Rhoda gym without looking back.
Haha, I suddenly find this person quite interesting.
Celine couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Blue's last expression of barely containing his frustration was truly hilarious. Blue isn't a bad person at all.
It's just that he's too proud. Once you earn his respect, you'll find he's actually quite decent. It's just that his personality hasn't been corrected yet. After he gets a good lesson, he'll be more restrained.
Dylan shrugged. He didn't dislike Blue for this reason. Blue wasn't a bad person, but his excessive pride made him hard to defeat. Only Red, who was both his rival and childhood friend, could truly defeat him. Being beaten by someone he least wanted to lose to was the only way for Blue to reflect on his own issues. Since Red was his rival and childhood friend, their relationship was entirely different from that of outsiders, so only Red could correct Blue's personality. Outside the Rhoda gym.
After leaving the Rhoda gym, Blue stopped and looked back at the luxurious and imposing building, falling into deep thought.
Dylan.
After a long time, Blue's face broke into an excited smile.
This was so interesting. Blue. What is it? Are you coming back to challenge the Rhoda gym? Gary asked, puzzled. Of course. But I need to prepare properly. Dylan's strength is indeed quite formidable, so I need to be well prepared, Blue replied without hesitation.
Blue, Dylan doesn't just have the Dark-type lineup, he also has a more despicable Poison-type lineup, Gary reminded, having suffered from it firsthand.
I know. Blue frowned. This was indeed a point that needed to be considered, as the Rhoda gym used random lineups. No worries. I'll bring 2 lineups next time. Blue decided to have his grandfather lift the restrictions so he could bring 2 lineups for the challenge. But, Blue, what if you land on that legendary gold lineup? Gary asked cautiously. Blue fell silent. It won't be that lucky, Blue said dismissively. But it's better to be prepared, Blue. It won't be that lucky. But what if? You jinxer. Just shut up. Blue was getting angry. Why can't you just wish for something good for me? Can't you hope for some good luck for your brother? That spinner has only a few golden sections. How could I be so lucky to land on one? Gary, look at you. You keep failing in gym challenges. Can't you learn from me? You must be in your rebellious phase. Tonight, let Blastoise train you properly. No, Blastoise needs to rest, so let Pidgeot give you some special training. I've always said Grandpa and Sis are too lenient with you. Seeing his brother ranting, Gary shrank his neck, feeling quite aggrieved. He wanted to argue, saying, but you haven't even battled Dylan at the Rhoda gym, and we don't even know if you'll win next time. But seeing his rarely seen ranting older brother, Gary decided it was better to keep his life in mind. Chapter 97, Children of the Stars. It has been 3 days since Blue's challenge, and today is Friday. It feels a bit boring without challengers. The receptionist sat at the front desk, propping her head up with one hand and yawning cutely. There's nothing we can do about it. The gym leader's fame has been growing these past few days, Celine said with a smile, feeding an energy cube to the large black and orange cat in front of her. This was the Tora cat that had evolved from her Litten. Ever since the post titled My Experiences with Rhoda Gym became popular, many challengers had come to Rhoda Gym specifically to challenge it. But in the end, all of them failed miserably. And then, Rota Gym became even more famous.
The mechanism that decided the gym leader's type was too unique. Some dedicated trainers even spent money to gather many of Rota Gym's challengers together to discuss strategies for defeating it and to share their training experiences. Interestingly, the receptionist also snuck into these discussions.
Tomorrow is another day off. Celine, what do you want to do? More special training?
Tomorrow, I want to go to Mount Moon to catch some Pokemon.
Will you come with me? Celine asked. Sure. What Pokemon do you want to catch?
The receptionist blinked her big eyes and curiously asked.
Ekans, Oddish, Nidoran, Skorupi.
Any of those would be fine, Celine listed off, counting on her fingers. The receptionist tilted her head, finding it hard to judge.
Isn't that the gym leader's lineup?
But since Celine is the gym leader's apprentice, it's only natural to follow in his footsteps. Had the gym leader said that in another month, I might be able to handle some challengers myself. The young girl proudly placed her hands on her hips, extremely happy and confident. After so much time observing, she believed she had mastered everything Dylan had taught her.
Celine, you're amazing.
The receptionist clapped appropriately.
Meanwhile, in the living room.
You brat, the gym's reputation has been pretty good lately.
You haven't embarrassed your dad. President Vernon even contacted me to praise you. Haha, that's my boy.
Oh, by the way, your mom and I have decided to go to Hoenn in a couple of days.
Are you coming to Alola or not? Let me know, your mom is eager to see you.
Looking at the messages from his dad on his phone, Dylan felt a bit helpless. It seems Uncle and Aunt really miss you, Eileen teased with a playful smile as she stood nearby in her pale yellow dress.
Dylan thought for a moment.
Since his parents wanted to see him, he could close the gym for a few days.
It wouldn't be a big deal.
The challengers would surely understand. I should let Officer Jenny know, so there's no need to worry.
I'll take some time off. Eileen, do you want to come?
Ha!
Is that okay?
Eileen's bright eyes sparkled with anticipation.
Of course it's okay.
We'll stay in Alola for a day, then I'll take you to an ancient place.
It'll take about 4 or 5 days in total.
That sounds great, Eileen agreed without hesitation, her eyes curving into crescent moons with joy.
Then go get ready. We'll catch a flight tomorrow morning.
Okay. Eileen's smile was radiant as she happily turned to leave, all her usual poise and grace replaced with excitement. She needed to head back to the castle to pack. This would be her first time traveling far. To the world-famous tourist destination, Alola. Dylan chuckled as he watched her leave, then looked at the 3 minimized Pokeballs in his hand. These were just sent to him by his dad.
Come on out. Dylan released the 3 Pokemon from their Pokeballs.
3 distinct cries echoed in the room, and the Clefairy on Dylan's shoulder tilted its head curiously. Dylan's gaze slowly swept over the 3 Pokemon in front of him. On the far left was a small, floating creature with a dark green body. Its fur floated like will-o'-the-wisps, and its yellow eyes had red irises. A noticeable red bead necklace hung around its neck. This was a Misdreavus, a ghost-type Pokemon. The Misdreavus didn't seem shy, tilting its head curiously as it stared at Dylan. Beep Misdreavus, Ghost-type, Screech Pokemon. Ability, Levitate. Moves, Hex, Mean Look, Confuse Ray, Astonish, Psychic, Curse. Description, it hides in the shadows, emitting the sound of a child crying to frighten travelers. When it enjoys scaring people, the red beads on its chest glow eerily. In the center was a small Pokemon draped in cloth. Its head resembled Pikachu's, but its eyes, mouth, and nose were somewhat creepy. There were 2 black dots on its lower body, its real eyes. This Pokemon, disguised in a Pikachu costume, was Mimikyu, a ghost and fairy-type Pokemon. Mimikyu seemed a bit shy, standing silently in place, looking nervous and uneasy. Beep Mimikyu, Ghost and Fairy-type, Disguise Pokemon. Ability, Disguise. Moves, Double Team, Shadow Sneak, Wood Hammer, Copycat, Astonish, Destiny Bond, Hereditary. Description. If a trainer sees its true form when the wind lifts its disguise, they will suffer in agony and die that night.
Transformed form. It seeks revenge on those who expose its true form by breaking its neck. Revealed form. On the far right was a cute, mischievous-looking black fox. Its body was dark gray, with light blue eyes. Its head, eyebrows, and limbs were adorned with dark red fur that resembled flames.
Dylan raised his eyebrows in surprise. This was a Zorua, a dark-type Pokémon. He hadn't expected his dad to actually find one. It must have taken quite some effort. Zorua was not only extremely rare, but its species' unique illusion ability made it difficult to spot. They often go unnoticed because they can transform. Many times, a Zorua or Zoroark might walk right past you, and you wouldn't even know it. Because when its illusion ability is activated, it might appear as just an ordinary Oddish to you. Deep Zorua, Dark-type, Tricky Fox Pokémon. Ability, Illusion. Moves: Knock Off, Taunt, Torment, Scary Face, Fury Swipes, Sucker Punch, Hereditary. Description: it often transforms into its opponent's appearance and escapes while they're shocked by the illusion. Satisfied with the three little ones, a smile appeared on Dylan's face. Yes, his next team would focus on ghost types, so he had asked his dad to help him out. However, he had mentioned Zorua a while ago, and it had taken until now to find one. Zorua was indeed quite rare. Hello, from today on, I'll be your trainer. Please take care of me. Dylan took out some energy cubes and treats, offering them to the three Pokémon with a gentle smile. The invisible power of Viridian radiated from him. Misdreavus was the first to slowly approach, sniffing the energy cubes. Its eyes lit up, and after taking a bite, it let out a satisfied hum. It was very cute. Seeing this, Zorua's eyes twinkled as it also approached Dylan. Don't be afraid. From now on, we'll be the closest of partners, Dylan said with a smile as he noticed Mimikyu still hesitating, seemingly shy. He crouched down and gently reassured it. Mimikyu. Mimikyu's whole body trembled slightly, but in the next moment, it rushed into Dylan's arms, nuzzling affectionately against him, almost knocking Dylan over. Because Mimikyu nuzzled so vigorously, the puppet head on top of it made a cracking sound and tilted off, resembling a decapitated Pikachu, which looked rather eerie. Mimikyu is a Pokémon that is both steady and deeply afraid of loneliness. For a trainer who is willing to accept and recognize it, Mimikyu will give its heart and soul. The reason it wears the Pikachu disguise is because it believes that in this form, it can get along well with humans. However, the reality is that the costume actually makes humans more fearful of it. What a lovable little one, Dylan said gently, stroking Mimikyu softly, finding the Pokémon unexpectedly endearing. Time flew by, and the next morning, Dylan and Eileen were already heading to Cerulean City, where they boarded a plane bound for Alola. Alola is a world-renowned tourist destination, attracting visitors from all over the globe. The region consists of 4 islands located in a tropical zone, giving it a distinct southern charm. Every island boasts at least one large beach, making it a major draw for many. When deciding on their honeymoon destination, Dylan's parents chose Alola as their first option. They've been staying there for almost 2 months now. Rumor has it they plan to settle down in Alola for retirement. Melemele Island's Hawali City is a joyful and peaceful place, the largest seaside city on the island. Ah, the smell of the sea breeze, Eileen sighed with contentment as she stepped out of the airport in Hawali City, taking in the scent. Unlike the salty, fishy smell of Kanto's sea breeze, this one was much more pleasant. Hawali City's tourist beach is also the most famous. Let's go, Dylan said, glancing at his phone and noticing that his dad had texted them to take a taxi on their own. He couldn't believe that after all the trouble of coming to Alola, his parents couldn't even bother to pick them up. Typical of his unreliable father. Dylan pocketed his phone with a deadpan expression and hailed a taxi with Eileen to head to the villa his dad had bought. After confirming the address, Dylan pressed the doorbell. Coming. Please wait a moment, a soft and pleasant voice of a young girl called out. Soon after, a beautiful blonde girl in a white dress opened the door. Who are you looking for? Wait, you are. Lily paused, staring at Dylan. Dylan,
brother? Although this was their first time meeting in person, they had video chatted online before, and Lily also had family photos on display at home. So she instantly recognized him as her godbrother. "Should I say, nice to meet you, Lily?" Dylan said with a light chuckle. "Brother, please come in." "I'm sorry, Dad and Mom didn't tell me you were coming today," Lily said, a slight blush coloring her pale face as she quickly invited Dylan and Eileen inside. Typical. They couldn't even be bothered to pick me up from the airport after their own son flew all the way here. I had to catch a taxi. What more can I say? Dylan rolled his eyes, already too tired to complain. But Lily quickly covered her mouth to stifle a laugh. "Oh, right. Lily, this is Eileen, my friend." "Eileen, this is Lily, the sister I mentioned," Dylan introduced them. "Hello, Eileen," Lily greeted politely, placing her hands together in a formal manner. She had heard her parents mention Eileen's name a few times. "Don't be so formal." "Lily, you're so pretty," Eileen smiled warmly, her eyes twinkling with admiration. "This sister. She's stunning." Lily's simple, form-fitting white dress highlighted her slender figure, and her golden hair was tied into a neat ponytail. Her delicate face was as perfect as a doll's, radiating an aura of purity and softness. Even Eileen, who prided herself on her beauty, had to admit that in a couple of years, Lily would probably be even more beautiful than she was. Did Dylan's parents just happen to stumble upon a girl of this quality? Could she find one like that too? "Eileen, you're even prettier," Lily said shyly, admiring Eileen's figure with her big, sparkling eyes. Dylan, however, didn't notice the interaction between the two girls. His eyes were focused on Lily's shoulder bag. At some point, the bag had been slightly opened, and a creature resembling a nebula peeked its head out, curiously observing Dylan. Dylan's eyes instantly lit up. It was Nebby, the cosmig that Lily had taken from the Ether Foundation, also known as the Child of the Stars. This Pokemon was said to evolve into either Lunala, the Moon Beast, or Solgaleo, the Sun Devourer. If he could catch Cosmic, in the growth simulation world, Dylan could evolve it into either Solgaleo or Lunala in a single night, 2 nights at most. Because in the game, Lunala and Solgaleo evolved at level 53, and with some intensive training in Cerulean Cave, he could definitely get it to that level in no time. Chapter 98, No Worries. Dylan pondered how to reasonably capture Nebby. Although Nebby wasn't Lily's Pokemon, it was still a friend she deeply valued. Moreover, understanding Nebby's origins was her only goal at the moment. M.O. A soft, innocent chirp sounded as Nebby emerged from Lily's bag, floating unsteadily toward Dylan. "Ha? Nebby?" Lily was taken aback. "Is this your Pokemon, Lily? I've never seen one like it." Eileen looked at the little starry creature with a curious expression. At the moment, it was circling around Dylan, making cute movements. Eileen took out her Pokédex and aimed it at Nebby. Nebby resembled a nebula, with gases ranging in color from purple to light blue. It had small, yellow bean-like eyes, round blue cheeks, and a golden crescent-shaped hook embedded in its body. Eileen had never heard of such a creature and hadn't seen it in the official Pokédex either. No data available. Sure enough, the Pokédex displayed this message. "Nebby isn't my Pokemon, it's my friend." "Nebby, don't do that, you're bothering brother Dylan." Lily explained to Eileen, then looked apologetically at Dylan while speaking to Nebby. Nebby's curious nature often left Lily at a loss. But this was the first time she had seen Nebby so interested in someone, continuously circling around brother Dylan. It was truly strange. "It's okay, Lily. This little one is quite cute." Dylan smiled, extending his hand. A soft green glow emanated from his palm. Nebby blinked its small eyes and then settled into Dylan's hand. "What's this?" Lily was surprised. Not to mention how obedient Nebby was, but what was that green glow in brother Dylan's hand? "Brother Dylan, are you an Aura Guardian?" Lily suddenly thought of this and asked curiously. Just like there are shiny Pokemon, there are also many extraordinary individuals among humans. These people are collectively known as aura guardians, and the most common type is the psychic. Psychics vary greatly in power, but they are quite prevalent. Yes, Dylan has the power of the Viridian Forest. It's a natural blessing, making him naturally likable to Pokemon. Eileen smiled softly, answering on Dylan's behalf, with a hint of pride in her voice. The power of Viridian is an extremely rare ability. As far as we know, only Dylan and the current Kanto champion, Lance, possess it. That's amazing! Lily exclaimed, covering her mouth in awe. An Aura Guardian! Momo.
Nebby's eyes narrowed contentedly, emitting a soft, pleasant cry as Dylan gently rubbed its chin, causing the green glow to flicker.
Alright, I'll pet you. Dylan couldn't help but chuckle as he stroked Nebby's small cheeks. Brother, it seems Nebby really likes you. Lily marveled at the sight.
She had brought Nebby out of the ether paradise a month ago, but she had never seen Nebby so happy. The power of Viridian is a gift from nature. Since Pokemon are close to nature, this power is hard for them to resist, Dylan explained gently. So even without a system, Dylan could have lived quite well in this world, though with a cheat, life was certainly better.
M.O. Alright, I'll pet you. How about trying this?
Seeing that he had stopped petting it, Nebby nuzzled against Dylan's hand, seeking more attention.
Dylan chuckled and took out some candy treats, playing a little feeding game. M.O. Nebby eagerly opened its mouth to catch the treat, its eyes turning into starry shapes. By the way, Lily, is Nebby the name of your Pokemon? Eileen asked curiously. Yes, I actually gave it that name. Lily hesitated before answering. Nebby is very mysterious.
I've been searching for information about it, Lily said softly. She actually knew Nebby's real name, but that was something her mother had told her. To escape Luzman, Lily had given Cosmic the name Nebby, which was very fitting, and it was Cosmic that helped her escape from Ether Paradise. Lily had always wanted to uncover the secrets of Nebby, so she had been reading many books about Alola's ancient history and legends.
Unfortunately, she hadn't found much. Oh, I see.
Eileen noticed that Lily was hiding something. After all, Lily wasn't very good at lying. But since Lily didn't want to talk about it, there was no need to press further, especially since they had just met. The appearance of this little one reminds me of some historical records from Alola, Dylan pondered aloud.
Brother Dylan, do you really know something? Lily asked excitedly.
She was eager to uncover Nebby's origins and secrets to help it. I've always been interested in legends and stories from various regions, so I know a lot, though I'm not sure how accurate it is.
Dylan smiled and then looked down at the adorable and innocent Nebby.
With such a unique appearance, if I'm not mistaken, it should be Cosmic, known in ancient times as the Child of the Stars.
Cosmic.
Lily's delicate face changed slightly.
Dylan actually recognized Cosmic.
This was something only her mother, Luzman, knew about. The only reason Lily knew the name was because Luzman had referred to Nebby as Cosmic. Cosmic is an extremely rare Pokemon, and in the Alola region, only the Alolan royal family and its heirs know about the existence of the Child of the Stars.
Dylan slowly explained. Only the Alolan royal family knew about Nebby? Hearing this, both Lily and Eileen were surprised. Was this little creature really that special?
And when Cosmic evolves, it becomes Cosmon, known in ancient times as the Cocoon of the Stars. During that era, the king of Alola built altars in reverence of the Cocoon of the Stars. Playing the sun flute or moon flute on these altars would initiate a certain ceremony.
Dylan recalled his memories and then smiled at Lily. Lily, as a native of Alola, you should know about those two altars, right?
Brother, are you referring to? Lily paused, furrowing her brow as she searched her memory.
Finally, she confirmed and looked at Dylan in astonishment. Altar of the Sun and the Altar of the Moon?
The ancient Sun and Moon altars, located in Pony Island's vast Pony Canyon, were among the oldest and most significant relics in the Alola region. However, the current people of Alola had no idea what the significance of these altars was or what Pokemon they were meant to worship. But if I remember correctly, the altar of the sun and the altar of the moon are said to be deeply connected to the legendary Pokemon. As Lily spoke, she seemed to realize something. She gazed at Nebby, happily munching on candy in Dylan's palm, her clear, bright eyes becoming exceptionally complex. Now, she understood. Nebby was the very legendary Pokemon that the ancient Alolan royal family had worshipped. Or rather, perhaps it was the juvenile form of that legend? Yes, it certainly has a deep connection. Dylan gently lifted Nebby, also known as Cosmig. At the altar of the sun, playing the melody of the sun flute to the cocoon of the stars will cause it to evolve into Solgaleo, known as the beast that devours the sun. Likewise, at the altar of the moon, with the melody of the moon flute, the cocoon of the stars will evolve into Lunala, known as the beast that calls the moon. Lily, do you understand now? If all these legends are true, how special is this little one? Eileen appeared a bit dazed, but at this moment, Lily's pupils widened, her mind blanking out as she was struck by the realization. It wasn't surprising that Eileen, being a homebody from Kanto, was unfamiliar with Alolan legends. In Alola, the legendary Lunala and Solgaleo held a status no less significant than Ho-Oh and Lugia did for the people of Kanto. These Pokemon were even more powerful and revered than the island guardians of Alola. According to Alolan historical records, Lunala and Solgaleo had arrived in Alola from another dimension in ancient times. They had once fiercely battled the guardian deities, but in the end, the island guardians had submitted to them and were granted Z-power. Snapping back to reality, Lily pursed her lips and fell silent, staring at Nebby. Now she somewhat understood why her biological mother, Luzaman, had wanted to experiment on Nebby. If what Dylan said was true, and Nebby was indeed the juvenile form of Lunala or Solgaleo, then of course, Nebby would have the power to open ultraspace. In the legend, the sun and moon Pokemon originated from another dimension, likely ultraspace. But how could that be? Ultra beasts were so dangerous. Don't think too much about it, Lily. Even if the legend is true, you should be happy. After all, Nebby is your friend, right? Seeing his little sister deep in thought, Dylan gently comforted her. Telling Lily about Nebby's origins was partly to prevent her from running around in search of ruins to uncover Nebby's truth later on. With Dylan's apprentice, Eileen, already under his wing, it wouldn't be good if Lily continued to wander and ended up in danger. I understand. Thank you, brother. Hearing this, Lily nodded and thanked Dylan, a resolution forming in her heart. Yes, if this was Nebby's true origin, then she had to protect Nebby even more carefully. There was no way she would let her mother take Nebby away. But she wasn't a trainer. Should she ask her brother for help? Lily thought about it, considering her older brother Gladion. No, Gladion was likely in the same position as she had been, barely managing to take care of himself. In fact, Gladion might be worse off than her. At least she had foster parents to take care of her, so maybe she should find an opportunity to ask Dylan for help. Besides, Nebby seemed to really like him. As for Gladion, she could only wish him good luck. After all, she had fled with Nebby, and he had taken type Null. No wonder their mother was furious. We're family, no need to be so polite. By the way, Lily, are you heading to the Hoenn region tomorrow? Yes, foster mom said she's taking me to Meteor Falls, and she mentioned that Sister Zinnia will be with the tribe tomorrow. It seems our timing is just right. Lily responded obediently. Oh, by the way, Dylan, last night, Dad told the elders that you're now one of the strongest gym leaders in Kanto. The elders were really happy. And then the elders said they wanted to see you battle Zinnia, the successor of the tribe. Dad agreed on your behalf. Lily tapped her chin with a mischievous glint in her bright eyes. Ha ha ha. I really have to thank him. Dylan's eyelid twitched, unable to help but let out a dry laugh. That old man. Zinnia, the successor of the tribe, was a champion-level dragon-type trainer in the games. In the official short anime Pokemon Evolutions, Zinnia's Mega Salamence was strong enough to fight evenly with May's newly caught Rayquaza. Her strength was formidable. Was that old man not worried Zinnia would crush him? Oh, but I have an Articuno.
No worries then. Chapter 99, Villain Boss.
If I really have to battle Zinnia, I should prepare thoroughly. Though I grumbled about Dad making this battle arrangement without asking me, getting the chance to go all out against a champion-level trainer is a rare experience.
It's the perfect opportunity to test my current strength.
And since Zinnia is the inheritor of the Draconid people, it's only natural she's a Dragon-type champion-level trainer. She's incredibly powerful, making her an ideal opponent. Yeah, Zinnia is a true Dragon-type champion, not just someone who specializes in flying types. If I remember correctly, her team in the games includes Gudra, Tyrant Rum, Altaria, Noivern, and Salamence, right? In reality, she'll probably have a full team of dragon types with another one added in.
I thought it over. Why does it feel like Zinnia's team has a lot of flying types?
Well, it doesn't matter since I'm not planning to use my poison-type lineup anyway. Using poison types against flying Pokémon puts me at a disadvantage. If they don't touch the ground, toxic spikes can't activate, and ground-based troops are naturally weaker against aerial ones.
I'll go with a Dark-type lineup and throw Articuno in there.
If the first 5 get beaten, I'll send out Articuno to freeze her Mega Salamence.
Yes, perfect. A pure Dark-type lineup with 1 Ice-type shouldn't be a problem, right?
After all, if someone can call a team with 3 flying types and 3 dragon types a Dragon Legion, then why can't my team with 5 dark types and 1 ice type be called a dark type team?
If Lance can do it, why can't I?
Half an hour passed quickly, and the 3 of us sat in the living room chatting.
Phew, finally back.
The door opened, and a handsome, mature man in his 40s walked in, carrying several bags. Walking beside him was a woman with short purple hair. It was, of course, my dad, Ito, and Mom, Amelia.
Baby.
The moment Amelia stepped through the door, she spotted me and quickly changed her shoes.
Mom, my dear son, I've missed you so much.
Before I could finish, Amelia enveloped me in a tight hug, cutting off my words.
It's been nearly 2 months since I last saw you. I told you to come with us for a vacation, but you didn't listen. You're just as stubborn as your dad, always so hard-headed when you decide on something.
After hugging me tightly for a moment, Amelia sighed, clearly exasperated. Dad said he left the gym in my hands, so if I left, the business would crumble.
I shrugged.
Besides, you and Dad were enjoying your alone time.
Why would I want to intrude?
You little rascal, give me a break.
I've got so many businesses I'd rather hand over to you, and yet you only care about the gym? That's not something we need to worry about.
Dad, Ito, chuckled as he scolded me.
Anyway, take a look at this.
Ito fished a red tablet-like device out of his pocket and tossed it toward me. Just as I was about to catch it, the device floated in front of me and lit up automatically. 2 glowing dots at the top of the screen lit up like eyes.
Mr. Baby, it's so nice to meet you, Rotom.
A cheerful mechanical voice rang out from the device's speakers.
Hello there, you're a Rotom Pokédex, aren't you? Dad, you actually made one? I asked, surprised. Yup, it wasn't too hard. As long as you design a suitable form and function that appeals to Rotom, it'll happily enter the device. Ito nodded. Your mom and I just came from meeting with Professor Kukui to get this first prototype.
When he heard we were developing a Rotom Pokédex, he offered a lot of technical support.
This first unit is yours.
Oh, and by the way, son, the Master Ball project over at Sylph Company is almost finished.
You'll be able to pick it up next month.
Ito walked over and patted me on the shoulder, a wide grin on his face. Once the Rotom Pokédex goes into full production, my wealth will probably double again.
Man, no matter how low-key I try to be, I just can't avoid being on the road to becoming the richest man in the world. I really hate money, you know? It's so annoying. Ito sighed dramatically, striking a pose, but just as quickly, a loud smack echoed through the room as Amelia hit him on the head. You could tell it was a solid hit just by the sound. Why are you showing off in front of the kids? Amelia glared at him, while Ito rubbed his head, grinning sheepishly. TCH. Really, Dad? I clicked my tongue in disdain. This guy even wrote me a letter talking about finding me a stepmom? What a joke.
Uncle and auntie are just as close as ever, Eileen commented with a smile.
Lily smiled softly, seemingly used to this dynamic between her godparents.
However, a hint of sadness flickered in her eyes as she remembered her own broken family.
Once, she had a loving father and mother, but now.
Still, Lily quickly buried those feelings. She knew she was incredibly lucky.
With the family reunited, there was plenty to catch up on.
Amelia decided to cook dinner herself, and both Eileen and Lily eagerly volunteered to help. Though one was a homebody queen and the other a former Ether Foundation heiress, neither had much experience in the kitchen. They could only assist with basic tasks. Meanwhile, Ito and I sat on the couch, chatting.
I heard from President Vernon that you've been spending a lot of time with Champion Lance?
Ito lit a cigarette, smoke curling around him.
Yeah, probably because of my Viridian power. Lance seems to have a good opinion of me. He even invited me to become a member of the Elite Four. I nodded, not hiding anything from my dad. And what did you think about that? Not interested. Being a gym leader is easy and relaxed. You lazy brat, no ambition at all. Ito laughed and scolded me. With a dad like you, what ambition do I need? I shrugged.
As Ito had told me before, I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, starting my journey on the shoulders of a giant. There was no helping it, my dad was just too rich.
No argument there. Our family's wealth is enough for you to live it up forever. But you've really made me proud, son. Ha ha ha.
Ito was genuinely proud of my recent achievements, to the point where his business associates had been calling him to tease him, their voices dripping with envy. It was making him feel quite smug, to say the least. In this world, the line between trainers and regular folks is very clear. But when a family has a strong trainer backing them, their position becomes unshakable. Just like how the Devon Corporation, owned by Joseph Stone, has grown to rival even Sylph Company in wealth and influence. Actually, a few years ago, Devon was just a small company focused on mining iron and refining steel. Why has it developed so quickly in recent years? According to the information, Devon's growth happened in just a few years, which is quite terrifying. This rapid development can't be separated from Joseph Stone's outstanding business acumen and operational skills, as well as the technology they developed. However, it's also closely tied to his son, Stephen. Many people believe that Stephen's growth is due to the resources of Devon Corporation, but in fact, it would be more accurate to say that Stephen and Devon Corporation have achieved success together. Joseph Stone put all his effort into supporting his son's career as a trainer, and Stephen didn't disappoint him. A few years ago, Stephen successfully became the champion of the Hoenn region. The resources available to a regional champion are unimaginable. Not to mention that Stephen was not even 20 at the time and still had a lot of potential. As the father of Hoenn's champion, Joseph Stone's Devon Corporation, both directly and indirectly, gained tremendous benefits. They developed new types of pokeballs and various item-related technologies, propelling Devon into becoming one of the world's top companies, even rivaling Kanto's Sylph Company and Galer's Macro-Cosmos Group. Rivaling Sylph Company? What does that mean? Sylph Company is the company that controls Pokeball technology. In a world centered around Pokemon, one can imagine the immense scale of Sylph Company. Yet Devon managed to match Sylph Company's scale in just a few years. Surely, this was also supported by the Hoenn League, given that their own champion was the son of Devon's president. How could they not support it? Oh, it's worth mentioning that Stephen stepped down 2 years ago and recommended his close friend Wallace for the position. Wallace didn't let Stephen down and successfully defeated the Hoenn Elite Four to become the Hoenn champion. But even with Stephen stepping down, Devon remains the largest company in Hoenn, with an unshakable position. Why? Because the president's son is the former Hoenn champion, and the current champion is Stephen's recommended close friend. With such connections, who would dare touch Devon Corporation, aside from the league? Thinking about this, Ito couldn't help but nod as he looked at his own son. He used to be envious of Joseph Stone for having a champion-level son. But now, there's no need for envy. His assets were no less than Joseph Stone's, and once the Rotom Pokédex technology fully matures, his wealth will grow even more. As for comparing sons, in just 2 months, Dylan had grown from a fresh graduate of Pokemon school to someone capable of defeating high-ranking Team Rocket executives and even capturing them.
Impressive. My son Dylan is also champion material. And in the future, he'll definitely be stronger than that Steven. It's just the beginning, Dylan said modestly. You cheeky brat, putting on airs even with me, Ito laughed and scolded him. But I have to remind you, I've received word that lately, Lance hasn't been getting along with the Kanto League. Oh? Just last week, during the operation to suppress Team Rocket in Celadon City, which you participated in, the day after, there was a Kanto League meeting. It said that Lance got into a conflict with the council members, and he even released his Dragonite during the meeting. Ito clicked his tongue in surprise. Senior Lance does have quite the temper. Dylan's eyes narrowed slightly upon hearing this. It's mainly the council members. Those fools are incompetent, but they are arrogant, greedy, and self-righteous. They probably criticized Lance during the meeting, pushing him too far. Ito was gleeful at their misfortune, having no fondness for the Kanto League council members, who had often used their positions to extort money from him. But just as he finished speaking, he noticed his son giving him a strange look. What's the matter? You've got it wrong. Wrong? How so? Ito was taken aback. Could his information be incorrect? No way, he had confirmed it with several people. Senior Lance definitely didn't lose his temper. Dylan shook his head, speaking seriously to his father. If those council members had really angered Senior Lance, they wouldn't have walked out of that meeting room. Dylan was certain that the Lance of this world was absolutely the same as the one in the Pokemon Adventures manga, perhaps not as extreme yet, but if truly pushed to the brink. Reenacting the events of the manga? Lance could absolutely do it. A few arrogant council members? Nothing a swipe from Dragonite couldn't handle. Even in this world, Lance had certainly eliminated quite a few Team Rocket members behind the scenes. He wouldn't show mercy. Ito was shocked by this revelation. That, surely, couldn't happen, right? Ito frowned. This wasn't something to joke about. No, Dad, it's entirely possible. Dylan's eyes flickered slightly. He suddenly realized why, after rescuing Proton and Archer, Giovanni had left that bold message at the Celadon Police Department. At the time, Dylan had found it strange, as it didn't seem like something Giovanni would typically do. But now, he understood. Giovanni had already seen Lance's increasingly obsessive and twisted nature. He was pushing him. Lance, who was proud and fiercely protective of Pokemon in nature, would eventually be consumed by his extreme love. As long as Team Rocket existed, Lance would never be able to surface. Giovanni was deliberately provoking Lance, trying to push the Dragon Master deeper into darkness. When that time comes, Lance, who was once Kanto's champion and protector, might become an even greater threat than Team Rocket, a nightmare for Kanto. Whoa, now that's an exciting thought. But if Senior Lance really does turn evil, as a gym leader, would I have to step in? That wouldn't feel right. Senior Lance has taken such good care of me as his junior. Dylan hesitated for a second before deciding he would have to step in. If his mentor lost his way, it was his duty as a junior to bring him back with Articuno. Darn it, I really wish I had Kyurem right now. Chapter 100, Dylan, I am now champion level. Dad, how's the collection of Mega Evolution Stones going? Of course. I've already sent people to various regions to acquire all kinds of strange stones and even sent workers to dig up ores. We've gathered quite a number of Mega Evolution Stones. Ito gave Dylan a thumbs up, praising his son's foresight. Once Mega Evolution enters the public eye, we won't even need to hype it. Any Mega Evolution Stone will sell for a high price. Dylan smiled. Compared to Z-moves, Dynamaxing, and Terastallizing, Mega Evolution, which isn't limited to specific regions and drastically enhances Pokemon strength, is truly outstanding. Dylan also knew that in this world, a fusion of different Pokemon versions, Mega Evolution wouldn't take long to appear publicly. However, in reality, the first to master Mega Evolution were the Draconids.
They just didn't share the technique with the world.
Meteor Falls is the birthplace of superevolution.
That being said, Professor Sycamore from the Kalos region was probably already studying mega-evolution. Before it becomes widely known, Dylan had advised his dad to gather as many mega-evolution stones as possible. After that, the father and son chatted for quite a while about various matters, and Amelia had prepared a table full of dishes. Everyone sat down to eat, and the joyful atmosphere brought smiles to the faces of both Amelia and Ito, the elder generation.
Dylan even had the Rotom Pokédex take several group photos of them.
Yes, the Rotom Pokédex has many functions, it can even make phone calls. If the technology were more advanced, a Rotom phone would be perfect. Just like in Pokemon Horizons, where Liko and her friends each had a Rotom phone, how convenient. But more research was still needed to achieve that. After dinner, Lily took on the role of tour guide, leading Dylan and Eileen on a tour around Hawali City. Eileen was especially excited to explore the unique culture and landscape of Alola, so different from Kanto.
Sadly, time was limited.
The next morning, the group boarded a plane to the Hoenn region, and after several hours of flight, they arrived in Rustboro City.
Ito and Amelia were quite familiar with the area.
They rented a car and drove out of the city, eventually arriving at the mountains near Meteor Falls.
Meteor Falls is a famous outdoor location in Hoenn.
While the outskirts are manageable, the deeper areas are home to strong wild Pokemon. Without proper preparation, even elite trainers can find themselves in trouble and forced to retreat. Meteor Falls is also one of the habitats for wild Bagon, though very few trainers actually manage to catch one here. Just like those trying to catch a Larvitar on M Silver in Kanto, success is rare. We'll need to ride our Pokemon to continue from here.
As they entered the Meteor Falls area, Amelia turned to Dylan. Dylan, you have a Pokemon that can fly, right?
Yes.
Dylan opened the Pokeball containing his Articuno. Yow! A beautiful, ethereal cry echoed as Articuno spread its wings.
Wow, so beautiful.
Lily's eyes sparkled as she stared, entranced, at the elegant Articuno. In this version, Lily doesn't fear Pokemon.
Well, you really did capture an Articuno. Not bad, son, Ito said, clearly satisfied.
What a gorgeous Articuno. Alright then, its size should be enough to carry the three of you.
Amelia released her Altaria, as she, too, was a Dragon-type expert and had her own Dragon-type Pokemon as a member of the Draconid tribe.
Amelia and Ito rode on Altaria, while Dylan, Lily, and Eileen mounted Articuno.
Lily sat in front, Eileen in the middle, and Dylan at the back.
Articuno's back was spacious, and surprisingly, it didn't feel crowded at all.
Articuno's body is a bit cool, so comfortable, Lily remarked, feeling a pleasant chill even through her dress and leggings.
Articuno's body temperature was naturally low. Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement. From what Eileen had told her, this was Kanto's legendary Articuno. A legendary Pokemon, how amazing! Altaria led the way, with Articuno following behind at a steady pace. The two Pokemon flew swiftly, and since Amelia knew Meteor Falls well, they easily avoided the more aggressive wild flying-type Pokemon.
Why is this place called Meteor Falls? Lily asked curiously as the wind played with her golden bangs, tucking her hair behind her ear. It was her first time visiting a different region. Because this place was formed when a meteor struck, creating a large cave. There's also a stunning waterfall, hence the name, Dylan explained.
Do you know about the Draconids in Meteor Village? Can you tell me about them?
My godparents haven't mentioned them to me, Lily asked, her voice full of curiosity. Her godfather Ito was a top-tier billionaire, her godbrother had captured a legendary Pokemon and was a Kanto gym leader, and her godmother was a member of an ancient, noble clan.
Who could understand what kind of family she had become a part of?
Yeah, Dylan, I'd love to hear more about the Draconids and what it means to be a heir, Eileen added.
This world was so full of ancient mysteries, who wouldn't be intrigued?
The story of the Draconids is a long one, Dylan said, raising an eyebrow.
We don't mind.
Yes, please, brother, tell us.
Eileen and Lily's eyes were shining with anticipation. Alright then, I'll give you a quick version, Dylan began, recalling the tale. If we're going to talk about the Draconids, we can't skip the ancient legends of Hoenn, specifically about Groudon and Kyogre. Groudon and Kyogre? Lily and Eileen were both intrigued, as they hadn't heard of these legendary Pokémon before. The Draconids' history goes back thousands of years. Back then, meteor showers frequently streaked across the sky. Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre fought an endless battle for control of nature's energy. Against these godlike ancient Pokémon, humanity was powerless. Despair swept through the land until Rayquaza, another ancient Pokémon, descended. Dylan's eyes glimmered. Rayquaza put an end to the battle between Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre, forcing them into slumber, and Hoenn was at peace. Rayquaza sounds amazing, Lily exclaimed. Though she didn't know Rayquaza, any Pokémon that could stop a battle between two legends had to be powerful. But the story didn't end there. 1,000 years later, a meteor struck the area that is now Satopolis City, breaking through the Earth's crust and releasing natural energy. Groudon and Kyogre awoke once more, and the battle resumed. Despair engulfed Hoenn again, and the Draconids remembered the events from a millennium ago. At that time, the air stood upon the Rainbow Stone and prayed for Rayquaza's return. Their prayers, channeled through the Rainbow Stone, reached Rayquaza, who then mega-evolved. Mega Rayquaza once again defeated Groudon and Kyogre, sending them back into slumber. Rayquaza returned to the skies. Dylan narrated slowly, and both Lily and Eileen were fully engrossed in the tale. Afterward, the Draconids built the Sky Pillar to commemorate their deity, and they inscribed the events on its walls, leaving behind a prophecy. The prophecy foretold that after 1,000 years of peace, another meteor would strike Hoenn. Before that happens, Rayquaza must be summoned again to destroy the meteor, and that is the duty of the heir. Hearing this, Dylan couldn't help but think of Zinnia. That's right, the Draconids' prophecy was for this era. Everything had been going smoothly. Aster, the heir, had left Meteor Village, successfully found Rayquaza at the embedded tower in Johto, and used a large amount of keystones to mega-evolve it. Aster should have been able to fulfill the Draconids' prophecy perfectly, but in the end, she tragically died in the embedded tower. Thus, the second heir, who inherited the tribe's wishes, her sister's legacy, and the mega bracelet Zinnia, was born. Does that mean the Draconids have existed for over 3,000 years? Eileen was astonished. That's right, Dylan nodded. The Draconids are one of the world's most ancient tribes. There was no doubt about it. Lily was amazed, her small mouth forming an 3,000 years. Even the Pokémon League had only been established for just over 100 years. There was a world-renowned school in the Paldea region called Naranja Academy, and its history was said to stretch back 800 years. But that's not even a third of the time the Draconids had existed. Actually, it's not as outrageous as you might think. Although the heritage is ancient, times are progressing. The number of pure-blooded members of the Draconids has dwindled significantly, and most people are moving forward. Dylan smiled, not seeing the Draconids as particularly special. In essence, the Draconids are merely worshippers of Rayquaza. Moreover, time is harsh. Over the long years, most of the Draconids have left the Draconid village to live in the outside world, much like Dylan's mother, Amelia. About half an hour later, Dylan and his group arrived at the depths of Meteor Falls, where an ancient small village came into view. This was the Draconid village, home to the Draconids. In front of the village, an old lady with white hair, wearing a white cloak and leaning on a cane, saw Amelia and showed a joyful smile. Behind the old lady was a black-haired girl in a gray cloak, who was Zinnia. "Old lady, you're so old. Why did you come out?" The Altaria landed, and Amelia hurriedly went up to the elder with a reproachful tone. "Don't worry, I'm still in decent health. I can still walk for a few more years," the old lady said kindly. She was a very gentle and warm elder. "Look at you, you must live well. I hope you will name Dylan's child someday." Amelia paused, holding the old lady's hand gently. The number of Draconids living in the Draconid village has decreased, and Amelia was raised by this old lady since childhood. To Amelia, the old lady was like a mother.
However, ever since her granddaughter, Aster, died at the embedded tower a few years ago, the old lady was greatly affected, and though she managed to recover, her health was no longer what it used to be. Hee in the blink of an eye, Dylan has grown so much. I heard from Amelia that you have become a gym leader now, right? The old lady smiled with a hint of helplessness, then looked at Dylan with a very kind expression. Yes, old lady, Dylan replied gently. He addressed her as old lady because that is the respectful term used for elders among the Draconids. You're such an outstanding child, the old lady praised. Then, the group entered the Draconid village. It was clear that the old lady was very happy to see Amelia's family visit. The old lady had specially prepared a meal to welcome them, and after dinner, the elders chatted while the younger generation, including Dylan, stepped outside. Dylan, would you like me to show you around? Zinnia, with a bright and fearless smile, had a Whizmore at her feet. Sure, it's been a long time since I was last here, Dylan nodded. Lily and Eileen looked curiously at this spirited girl. Zinnia had black shoulder-length hair tied with a red bead hairpin, wore a black sleeveless top, gray-blue denim shorts, and a gray, worn cloak. Her right ankle was wrapped with a mysterious bracelet. Her skin was tanned, and her heroic face was always adorned with a refreshing smile. This was Zinnia, the current heir of the Draconids. Miss Zinnia, what's the name of this Whizmore? Eileen asked curiously about the Whizmore following Zinnia. It was quite cute, but weren't the Draconids supposed to specialize in dragon types? I named it Aster. It's my dear friend. Zinnia paused for a moment, then smiled again, holding the Whizmore gently. Yes, she named this Whizmore Aster. Although she knew it was just a consolation, it was her most cherished memory. Zinnia, the past is already over. You should try to move on. Dylan glanced at the Whizmore and comforted Zinnia. Zinnia deeply loved her sister Aster. According to Amelia, when Aster died at the embedded tower, Zinnia arrived at the scene and was so grief-stricken that she temporarily lost her ability to speak. Clearly, Zinnia was deeply affected by the tragedy. I understand. What I want most now is to find Rayquaza and fulfill the tribe's prophecy. Zinnia responded with a smile, showing no apparent distress. By the way, Dylan, I heard from my grandmother that you have become a gym leader in the Kanto region? Zinnia shifted the topic, clearly not wanting to dwell on the matter. Yes, if you have time, feel free to visit me in Kanto. I'll make sure to host you well. Haha, sure, I'll come once I've completed my goal. Zinnia didn't refuse. Then, are you interested in having a battle? I'm quite strong now. Zinnia's smile turned sharp, and her eyes showed a strong, dragon-like aggression. Oh? Shall we place a bet? Dylan raised an eyebrow. Your call. Zinnia agreed readily. Let's do this, whoever loses will do one favor for the winner. How does that sound? Sure. Zinnia's eyes lit up. This was just what she wanted. The reason for challenging Dylan was that if he was strong enough and willing to help, her plans could proceed more smoothly. Full battle? Of course, a full battle. Zinnia set the rules without hesitation, her expression excited and fierce. Dylan, let me show you just how strong an heir of the Draconids can be. I'm now a champion. My dragons are unbeatable. Champion-level heir Zinnia has challenged you. That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.